Hello, gamers. You're listening to the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. This is episode number 147. And welcome back to another edition of the Short Pause Gaming Podcast. I'm Brent Felsing, and joining me tonight, Bender Holt and Ben Boyce. Frankie Ayler is off tonight. He actually won't be back for a couple weeks. He's got a lot of stuff going on, so we'll hopefully have Frankie back sometime mid-February. So until then, it's just myself and the two beautiful Bens. Guys, how you doing tonight?
Doing pretty well.
Excellent.
All right.
Awesome. Boyce, you're playing Mr. Mom this weekend, correct?
Yeah, I am. The kids are at my mom's house tonight.
Dude, I love it that you offloaded them on the parents, dude. That's really nice. Yeah, that's fantastic.
They actually called me and they were like, "Hey, can we take the kids Saturday?" And I was like, "Sure."
I bet you didn't even think twice about it, did you? You were like, "Yep, cool, that's awesome."
Yeah.
No,
like,
that's perfect, dude. That's always nice to have those types of weekends. We get that kind of help as well too. And man, when you get, I mean, look, you're just like me. You love being around your kids. You love your kids, and spend time with them. But man, once in a great while, you got to treat yourself to a you night. Where it's just you, and so if the wife is home, you and the wife can hang out and just no kids screaming and all that jazz. Those nights are like gold, dude. They're fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a disappointing week though in terms of gaming. I thought I was going to be able to get a lot more time in, but I had to work today and just took up way more time than I expected it to. Just all week been really busy with work and just really haven't got to put in the type of gaming time I would have liked to this past week. So it's been disappointing on that front, but c'est la vie,
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Bender's I don't have any of these problems, so again, I can't relate. Bender, how was your week, man?
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Yeah,
just working and playing games.
Sweet. We had a lot of stuff to play this week. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Boyce, I'm going to start with you, and let's talk about that Monday night Indie Spotlight.
Yeah, pretty much the last time I got to play a game this week was Monday night. So we fired up Iconoclast for the Tuesday night Indie Spotlight. We featured it on Monday. It's kind of like a preview stream, give people an idea what the game's going to be about prior to its Tuesday launch. Mm-hmm. So, who's the publisher again for that?
Bifrost Entertainment.
Yeah. So Bifrost Entertainment was gracious enough to provide us with a code to stream the game a little bit early for our fans and our audience. So took advantage of that. You were in there with me in the chat, Brent. Fired it up, played it for an hour and a half. It's a really fun game. I really like Iconoclast. It was a great way to start this pretty epic week in gaming. It's a pixel art Metroidvania game with a heavy emphasis on story. I mean, there's RPG like towns and dialogue mechanics in the game. Mm-hmm. So that kind of builds the story and lore of Iconoclast. It's one of the things I really like about the game is it's not a simple side-scrolling like Metroidvania game. There's actually some light puzzle elements that require you to figure things out as you move from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit different in that respect, where it's not just going through areas, hacking and slashing enemies, getting new abilities and that kind of stuff. And all that stuff's in the game, but I really like how there's a door here and you got to figure out how to open it up. You got to figure out which switch opens that door. There's a platform here. You got to figure out which lever activates that so you can use it to get up to the next part of the level. It's a little more than just fighting enemies and going from screen to screen. So I really like that aspect of the game. It's got a catchy soundtrack, some like I said, a really interesting story behind Iconoclast. There's a lot of deeper themes that are being explored that kind of belie the colorful nature of the game. Mm-hmm. There's a lot with that still needs to be uncovered. Big emphasis boss battles in the game. So we did 3 of them on the stream. They were a lot of fun. There's over 20. I don't know exactly how many are in the game, but there's quite a few in the game. We've only encountered 3 of them so far. Mm-hmm. So I really like that. They all have interesting mechanics, and I know they're gonna just kind of ramp up from there. So yeah, I've had a great time with it so far. I think it's great Metroidvania game from what I've seen so far. So if you're a fan of that style of game, you're a fan of like 2D action platformers, like give this one a whirl. I think you'll find a lot to like in there. And like I said, in this week where a bunch of like high profile games come out, I thought this was a great way to start the week.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to piggyback off that for a moment. I actually picked up Iconoclast. I've been playing it exclusively on the Vita because that's just where a game like that is the only time I'll be able to really kind of spend a lot of time with it. And I'm about 30. I think I hit 30% late last night, and I think I've got 7 bosses down. I'm 5.5 hours into the game, and that game is really, really good. I know we featured some of the bosses on the stream. I've run into multiple other bosses. They are absolutely fantastic. A lot of these boss battles are really, really good, and they do take some time to figure out. So I mean, you will die, but it's one of those things where once you do figure out, you're like, man, that was really clever. It's tough, but it's fair, and they're very, very well designed. So I've really enjoyed my time with the Iconoclast. And as you mentioned, the story is actually very, very engaging. There's a lot of cool characters along the way, but a lot of these characters are suffering in this world that you're exploring, and the way they talk about the things that they're going through, it like you said, it just kind of adds a sense of like of realism or a somberness to the story of what. And typically in a game like this, it's more upbeat and it's more it's more fun, it's more pop and whatnot. But there is a somber story here, and it's very well done, and I've really enjoyed my time with it so far. So I'm with you. Iconoclast runs great on the Vita, and I'm having a blast playing that. So I'm with you on that, dude.
Yeah, and we talked about on the stream how Joachim Sandberg, the developer of the game, how one of his big focuses for that game was on the story, was on the narrative. He spent a lot of time, and that's another thing too. He spent 7-8 years developing this game,
Yes.
just in his spare time. This is another one of those one man shows in terms of game development, a la Tom Happ with Axiom Verge, and so this game is like polished to a T. It's a very, very polished experience. Runs great, feels great with the controls, and we. Like I mentioned on the stream, we talked about how he really wanted to focus on developing the characters, developing the story of this world. He thought that was important for the type of game that he was trying to make. And, it's not often in Metroidvania games that you find any kind of meaningful story in there, any type of meaningful narrative. Usually it's a more gameplay-driven experience. That's fine. Gameplay is a big part of those games. And there's tons of Metroidvania games I love that don't focus on a story, like Sundered, for instance, one I just finished. So it's interesting to play a game like Iconoclast and to come to a town and to talk to the different denizens in the town and get all these different story elements like you're playing an RPG. So so I thought that was really neat. I can't wait to play more of that game. It's really good so far. Saw a lot of positive chatter about it on the internet prior to the game releasing, and it's kind of lived up to the hype. It's been good so far.
Yes, it has, very much so. Did you play anything else this week?
Nah, that was it, man. There's a lot of other stuff I wanted to do. Like today, I knew the kids were going over to my parents. I was like, all right, I'm gonna be able to sit down, get a little bit of time in with some things. Like I wanted to get some time in with Celeste. Wanted to fire up Dragon Ball. Haven't had time to do either one of those things. So
Oh no.
it's been disappointing. Hopefully tomorrow I can get a little bit of time in. But yeah, just Iconoclast for me this week.
Cool. Bender, what have you been playing, buddy?
Well, I got into the Sea of Thieves beta with you and Frankie.
Yes, we did.
It's a lot of fun. We can finally talk about that now.
Yes.
Yeah. So you jump in there and you've got this guy that you go to find a treasure map, and then you've got a sea chart in your boat, and you just sail off, figure out which island you go to, sail off there, and dig up treasure and stuff like that. I had a lot of fun with it. I think the game was running pretty good. I like the look of it. The water animation is really nice. I think the ocean looks really cool in that game. But yeah, I really enjoyed what we played of it, and I thought it was something that could be fun to jump into from time to time. I know it was just a limited version of the game for the beta. I'm still intrigued to find out what the full game is going to be like. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I enjoyed what I played of that. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, this was a beta, so there's not a lot there. But what was there in its form? It's just like, look, like you said, go in. Here's some voyages you can carry out with your friends, and you follow this. And a lot of the mechanics throughout the voyage is very, very, very. It's well done. Actually, it's actually a lot of fun. You got your map. And then you go onto the ship, and the ship has many functions. You got to worry about the sails. You got to worry about patching up the boat, emptying out water if you're taking on water, steering the ship, and there's multiple job functions that everyone can do and take part in to kind of work as a unit. And I dig that portion of it a lot. And then you get on this voyage, and you get this map, and it says here's the island where it's at. And you're like, okay, but it doesn't tell you where it's at. So you got to scour the map, try to find the island. Then you locate down, you sail to the island. You got to find the treasure, dig it up, take the treasure, and return it back to, the outpost that you came from. And, you turn it in and you rank up. And, from a beta perspective, I got a better idea of what Sea of Thieves is going to be about. I understand what they're going for. But now, like you mentioned, this is just a beta. We just saw a couple voyages. Is this something, or if this is just what the game is, this is going to get boring really quick, especially if it's just voyages like this. But we're kind of hoping things will expand. We're hoping things become more elaborate. The other thing I noticed that we didn't encounter anybody else in our beta, and I wasn't sure if that was included in the beta, but then I saw people on Twitter talking about how they encountered other players and battled with them and did combat. And I was like, damn it, we didn't get any of that, and we were in there for a while because I think we took on three voyages. We were like, okay, let's hammer all these out, and literally we ran into nobody except for a couple of skeletons. So that was really strange that we didn't get to kind of experience that part of the beta, which I'm sure probably would have added to the overall enjoyment had we gotten to a little bit of naval combat with another a ship of pirates. So from that perspective, the beta did a good job at kind of giving me an idea of what are some of the things you can do. But now I want to hear from Rare about what else there's going to be to do. Is this map going to open up more? Are we going to visit different areas? Is there going to be more elaborate voyages? Are there going to be raids? This seems like a game that would have to have raids. You're working as a team. You're going to all these islands. You're exploring stuff. You're trying to find treasure. I would hope there's something like a raid function. But there's a lot of stuff we still need to know. But what I did play with you guys, I really, really had a good time with it. I mean, I got an idea of what this big game is going for, and I really enjoyed my time with it. So I thought they did a great job in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that we didn't experience in our play session that time that I did experience in the alpha was they've got the maps like we have where it just shows a picture of an island with an X on it and you have to just figure out which island it is. There's another style where they've got clues, so it tells you the name of the island first and you find it on the map, but then once you get there the clue will appear on your paper and it'll say, find a drawing of a turtle on a rock near the North Beach or something like that.
Ooh,
so you have to go there, and then it'll be like, step 10 paces west and then turn left or something like that.
Right.
And there's these like little clues you have to follow, and I thought that was even more fun when stuff like that comes up, and we didn't get any of those this time. So I'm interested to see if there's going to be a more variety of things and more variety of ways to locate treasure and stuff like that, if other than just one or two different types of treasure maps. But yeah, overall, I think it was a good time. I think once we get if we get all four of us in there, roll as a squad and as a crew on the ship, and I think it could be a lot of fun. And yeah, it's really interesting from what we've played.
Can you imagine though? Like seriously, imagine a raid that's kind of designed like trying to find One-Eyed Willie's ship. Like you're the Goonies going through these tunnels and you got to figure out the puzzles to try to get to it. I mean, that kind of stuff would be perfect in a game like this. Working as a team, trying to get through like an assortment of traps and booby traps and whatever you want to call them, and you're trying to make your way to like this hidden treasure. I think that's something that would really go far in a game like this. But again, we have an idea of what they're trying to do. We just want to know everything that we can do. And we still have 2 months until launch, so maybe Rare and Microsoft will put together a video or a presentation saying, here is what you can do. Here's what you can expect to do in Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, as long as there's an emote for you to do the truffle shuffle, then That'll be good.
Hey, who needs an emote? If we got the videos up, I can just do it live right here for everybody, dude. Boys, would you like to see that?
Yeah, I would. you know, I wasn't cool enough to be in the Sea of Thieves beta. But I watched you guys stream the game, and it looked like it was a fun experience. But I agree with everything you guys are saying. Like, I still have the question of what is this? What is the point of this game?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you like? What is the point? Like you guys went and you found treasures and you brought them back and gave them to that guy and you sold them, and then you just bought more treasure maps to go get more treasure to bring back to the guy. So like, what's the point of all this stuff that you're doing? Like, what are you actually trying to do in this game? Is this a loot game? Are you upgrading your character? We don't think there's any semblance of a story, right? From what we understand about this game, there's no narrative to speak of. So yeah, so that's the big question for me is what is the point of this game? And like you said, if it's just going out to islands and doing the stuff you guys did on the stream, like that's cool for like a night or two. But after that, like where do you go from there? So that's the big question I have about that game is I still don't know what the actual point of it is.
Yeah, and again, we didn't get that in the beta. And I think everyone understands it, and there's no way they're going to release everything in the beta. But at least you get an idea of what the purpose is of the beta. You got an idea of what you can do in the game. But like you mentioned, we still want to know what is the overall encompassing point of this game. What is the end game? You're starting here. I mean, we saw some form of ranking up only as like a part of the crew that we were in. Like our rank up, like what was it called, hoarding or something like that, Bender? What was our group called?
Yeah, it was like, I think from what I've heard there's multiple like guilds that you can join and rank up.
Yeah, there's three of them.
This was the Gold Hoarders Guild or something like that.
That's what it was, yeah.
And that was the only one that I could find. There was only that one guy in the tent that we could talk to in this beta. I didn't see the others, but yeah, I remember hearing there was three of them. Like one was for treasure, one was for like exploring, and one was for like combat or something like that. So we didn't get a taste of the other ones. So I'm interested to see how those will be. And like Boyce was saying, it's a fun gameplay loop of going to find the treasure, coming back and turning it in, buying better stuff. But yeah, they're going to need some sort of like objective based stuff to keep it interesting and keep us playing, stuff like that. Even if they don't have a story, I mean, if they have like daily objectives to complete or like special weekly raids, or like you said, or like special islands or adventures that you can go on, or whatever, they have to have something to keep our interest in playing the game. So hopefully they'll have something like that in the final game, but we just don't know yet.
No, that's what they really need to do. They need to be a little more transparent and kind of like do a full-on reveal, a blowout reveal. Here is what you can do. Here's the point of this game. And what you saw in the beta was hopefully just a snippet. Like we've all said here, what we saw in that stream was a lot of fun to do. But if it's just that over the course of time, that's going to get pretty stale pretty quick. But if there's more to it, if this is just a small snippet, then I am going to be very excited. I'll be very excited to play this game. But we don't know that yet. So hopefully at some point we'll hear some more information from Microsoft on what this game's about.
Yeah, and I have no doubt that there's a bunch of other stuff in this game to do. It's not just going to be, you find a treasure and bring it back. Like you said, there's other guilds that are going to focus on other things in the game. But even though this was a beta, I just think about some of the other betas I play, like Destiny, for instance. Like when I played that beta, like I knew what that game was when I finished that beta, right? Like this is a loot-based first-person shooter. Like I knew what I was getting into after playing that, and that's typically the feeling I get from a beta because it's pretty close to being released, so you have an idea what the game is going to be. But even with Sea of Thieves now, at this point, even watching you guys play it and seeing everything we've seen of the game up to this point, still don't really know like what the point of the game is, and that's a little strange.
Well, like I said, they're 2 months out still, so hopefully we'll find out something here soon because they are running out of time. They do have to really kind of, like I said, they got to have some kind of a blowout because there's a lot of positivity riding out now from this beta. This thing reached #1 on Twitch. People were streaming it. There's a lot of positive word of mouth from what we experienced in the beta. Now it's time for Microsoft. Okay, look, you've got this word of mouth. You got this buzz kind of building around this game. Let's talk about it now. Let's get it out there. Let's talk about it. and really add to that. It's really right there for them for the taking right now. Microsoft needs to capitalize on this positivity and come out and say, boom, here, this is just a snippet. Here you go. That's all I think that's all everyone really wants. They want to know what the overall what's everything you can do in this game. So but I don't want to spend the whole show talking about Sea of Thieves. What else did you play this week, Bender?
Still hammering through Xenoblade. I'm over 80 hours in now.
Woo!
So I've spent quite a bit of time in that game, so I'm hoping to get it. I'm going to try to not let Monster Hunter distract me too much because that game is good too. But yeah, we played Monster Hunter today, so we played Monster Hunter World on PS4, and excuse me, I've been having a lot of fun with that one too. We did a few hunts today, and it was a lot of fun. We wrecked a few monsters and got wrecked by one.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty funny. On that latest hunt, we were looking for one specific monster, and then we came across this T-Rex looking thing. We're like, yeah, let's take it down. Yeah, and he just he murdered us. Like, okay, we're not ready for that thing. Let's just do the objective.
Now you're saying I'm assuming you and Frankie played this, because I'm not picking up Monster Hunter. I've said for weeks now, I am not getting Monster Hunter World. There's no way. So I'm assuming you played with Frankie today, right?
Oh, but you did.
I did. I caved at the final hour. I picked up Monster Hunter, and you and I did. We played through a couple of missions, and we got wrecked by that thing. I think it was called an Najar. I can't remember what the hell it's called.
They've got weird names, but
yeah, they do. But gosh, the one thing that just irks me about this game right now is just the party system and trying to just get together and play together. Now, I don't know if it's because you were still kind of going through, I wouldn't say it was a tutorial, but the opening, rank, do this, do that, and learn this stuff and learn this stuff. But I couldn't join you, and it took us a while to figure out when the hell we could actually join up and play together. And by the end of the time we got done playing, we kind of had a better idea, but it was still a very kind of like this convoluted way of trying to join your friend, just to simply hop in and play with your friend. This is nothing like Destiny in terms of its like seamlessness and just let's just hop in and play. You got to jump through some hurdles early on, but once we kind of figured out, okay, these are the instances we can play together. This is where we have to go if we want to set stuff up. So we kind of got an idea. It's still not ideal, but that was the one thing that really kind of bothered me today. But in terms of like the gameplay, I'm still struggling with some combat, but it's really, really fun playing with somebody else for sure. You and I are working together, tracking down the Pookie?
Yeah.
Pookie. Yeah. That was cool. Hunting that thing down, like you said, that other creature kind of showed up and we got sidetracked, and we really shouldn't have, because that thing was just far too OP for us. But no, I mean, from what I played early on, a lot of the stuff that I do like about it are actually outside the combat, the ranking up your armor, upgrading armor, crafting stuff, finding, all the investigations. There is a lot to do in Monster Hunter. It can be a bit overwhelming. I have a little bit of experience with Monster Hunter on the 3DS, but I never really kind of got, sucked into that game, into that type of game. And trying to open up to this, it can be a little overwhelming, but there is a lot to do in Monster Hunter. I mean, you've got quests, you've got investigations, you've got these arenas we just unlocked, you've got expeditions, and all these different things you can do. There is a lot to do in Monster Hunter, dude.
Yeah, there is. And in addition, excuse me, in addition to that, it's like it's got a big world. It's got really good graphics. I think the game looks great. It's got a fairly deep character customization when you create your character. Yeah, I like that a lot. I spent a lot of time making my character and my palico and everything. That's a lot of fun. I also appreciate that the world is seamless this time. On the 3DS games, you would go to a different area, it would have to load. So like when the monster was running away from you, he'd like move into a different area, then you'd have to load into the next area to chase after him. You don't have to do that anymore. They make things a lot easier to like track with like the scout fly system. It's got these like lights that fly around, and you can follow them and find your way to the monster, and you can set waypoints to them and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying using. I like the dual blades. It's the one I usually use. I like quick attacks. It's the kind of weapons I like to use, but I still want to try the other weapons. There's a good variety of different weapons for every play style.
Mm-hmm.
If you want range, there's like guns and stuff, and there's like
Mhm.
axes and hammers and long swords and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get a squad of 4 of us getting in there, and I think that'd be a lot of fun to take down some monsters together.
Yeah, I hope we get a squad of 4 because, boys, get this. When you play Monster Hunter, if you play by yourself, it scales to that. It's just one person. But if you join a party, no matter if you go in with just you and a buddy or you and 2 other people, everything in that area scales to if you have 4 people. So we go into this battle against this big boss, and it's just 2 of us in there, but the boss just gains a ton of HP because it's scaling for 4 people. So the fight takes extra long. So hopefully that's something they'll address in a patch, because I think that seems kind of silly. It's actually even harder to go with 2 people as opposing to have a full squad. It's just kind of weird how it scales like that. But there's a lot to like in Monster Hunter. I'm still trying to get my head around the combat. I picked Sword and Shield because I feel like that's the most basic set weapon. Just block and hit, block and attack. So I need to start small with my combat. But everything outside of combat, other than kind of like the cumbersome party system, I'm really, really digging what I'm seeing so far.
Mm-hmm.
Boys, you looking to jump into that with us soon?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I got my copy today. Came a little bit early. Wasn't expecting it till Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier in the show, though, just didn't have a chance to get into much gaming like I wanted to. So yeah, over the next couple of days, I'll be hopping into it.
Sweet. Yeah, I think we're only like we didn't do too many quests. We're just doing like the investigations, the side stuff, because we want to stick with like us 4 going through the entire story together. But that's like one of the perks of the game, is there's just so much to do outside of the quest to kind of rank up your armor, get better weapons, upgrade your weapons. There's a lot of stuff to do outside of the quest to kind of keep us busy in between the times all 4 of us aren't on. So that's a nice plus as well. But gosh, I think we touched on everything. The only other game I played that we haven't talked about was Celeste, and that game is just freaking awesome. The hype is real. Celeste is a very, very, very good game. Extremely challenging. It's from the developers of Towerfall, but it's very much like a Super Meat Boy. You're going to die a lot, a whole bunch. But man, the level design, I've been posting videos off my Switch on Twitter all week. It's just an exciting, exhilarating game, but it's got a very interesting story. Like, there's a lot about Madeline. This is the character you're playing as. These cutscenes, it's a very mysterious story. I'm trying to figure out who she is. I can't tell if this is a psychological based story. I don't know if she's dealing with something on her side, or if there's something going on with her family. It's a very strange story. You get little hints here and there as she's conversing with these characters that she meets along the way. But Celeste is as good as interesting as the story is. The gameplay is where Celeste shines. I mean, it's very basic. You jump, you got to dash, you can wall jump, you can climb you can hold onto the wall and climb. It's very simple, but the level design and everything just feels so good to play. If you get a chance, I highly recommend Celeste. It's been a blast to play so far.
Nice. I'm looking forward to playing it. I picked it up on the Switch today, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in playing it.
It's a cool concept. You're basically just climbing this mountain, and every area that you go to. But what's cool about these areas, there's so many secrets. There's so many different ways to go. And in these areas, there's these strawberries. And they're placed in these positions where they are incredibly difficult to get to. You are earning the strawberries if you get it. If you get a strawberry. But what's funny is, if you make your way to the strawberry, you don't actually collect it until you return to where you started. So even if you go and get the strawberry finally, you got to make your way back, because if you die, you have to start all over again. And it's so cool. Even in the game, it goes, strawberries aren't really important unless you want to show off to your friends. It's pretty cool. So the game's self-aware. It just kind of makes fun of light of stuff. And it says, don't worry. Even one other point says, don't worry if you die a lot. If you die a lot, you're doing it right because you're learning. So it's a really cool game. Highly recommended Celeste, dude. Give it a look. It's really, really good. Boys, I can't wait for you to stream it, dude. You'll love it.
Yeah, I can't wait to play Celeste. Obviously, heard wonderful things about it. It's got a Metacritic around 90. Everybody's really getting into it. It's one of the games I wanted to sit down and play today, but just didn't get a chance to. But yeah, it's,
Mhm.
it's firmly on my radar. It's definitely something I want to play. Obviously, Meat Boy is one of the best platformers ever created. One of the best games I've played in the last 5-10 years. So whenever you say Meat Boy, like my ears perk up, and so I can't wait to play Celeste.
Yeah, it's a good time, dude. So, but hey, that's what we've been playing, boys. Let's get into these new releases, buddy.
Let's get into these. We are not going to spend too much time on these. We have a lot of news to talk about. A lot happened this week, so we're going to breeze right through these. What we missed last week, so we got Tachyon Project on the Switch now. It's a game that's been on other platforms, twin stick shooter. Earth Wars, another game that's been on at least PS4, I know. It's like a 2D action game. Actually looks pretty cool. Something I've always wanted to play, never had a chance to, but that's available now. 10-second Run returns. Looks like a pretty fun game. Looks like something along the lines of like N++. One of these like fast-paced, kind of minimalist, quick level type of games. Hazards, that kind of stuff. So that looks like a pretty fun one. That's available now on Switch. Arcade Archives Neo Geo Shock Troopers available now on the PS4 and Xbox One. Dead by Daylight, the Saw Chapter DLC is now available for PS4 and Xbox One. I haven't played Dead by Daylight, but this looks really cool, man. This Saw DLC.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, they've this game from what I understand is set up very similar to Friday the 13th, the game.
Mhm.
Where you've got a killer and you've got some survivors who are trying to navigate their way through the level. But yeah, the Saw level like takes place in the meat factory, and you're trying to get away from the pig. And she puts like the contraptions on your head, and you've got to figure out a way to get the key to get the contraption off your head before it explodes or kills you or whatever. It's really really interesting looking DLC for this game. So I know like Dead by Daylight. I know they've got Halloween, and I think they've got
Mhm.
Leatherface and some other stuff in there too. So you check that game out at some point. Ghost Recon Wildlands got its extended ops update. So they added a new extraction mode to the PvP. I
I
think
want to check that out, dude. That sounds
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's an attack and defend hostage mode where you've got to try and either defend the hostage or try and get in there and extract the hostage. So that that sounds pretty interesting. There's some Rainbow Six Siege like costumes or whatever that are available now as well. Loot
Mhm.
boxes are added now as part of this update, so I know people are excited about that. But this is all cosmetic stuff from what I understand, but that hasn't stopped people from getting upset in the past. So we'll see how this goes for Wildlands. Um, GT Sport got its 1.11 update. So another big update for the game. 10 new cars, a new track as well, and a bunch of different variations of tracks that have been added to the game. I think 8 new variations. So GT Sport continuing to plug along. Got some updates to the Gran Turismo League as well. Got some new events added to that. So a lot of people excited about that update. Warframe's new update is available now as well on the PS4 and Xbox One. This adds so new enemies, new weapons, and new personalization options to Warframe. So if you're playing that game, look out for that. All right. The games with gold lineup for Xbox One was released this week for February, and it is as follows. So Shadow Warrior will be available on the Xbox One from February 1st through the 28th. Assassin's Creed Chronicles India will be available on the Xbox One from the 16th through March 15th. That's February 16th through March 15th. And then the backwards compatibility 360 game Split Second available February 1st to the 15th, and Crazy Taxi available February 16th to the 28th. Brent, any thoughts on this list?
I like Shadow Warrior. That
Mm-hmm.
game is it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
The action's good, so I really like Shadow Warrior. Assassin's Creed Chronicles India is a decent title. Split Second was an awesome racing game last gen. Split Second's a really good game. Crazy Taxi's Crazy Taxi.
Cool. Yeah, Split Second is an amazing game. I have the platinum trophy in that game. Was one I really really liked. Spent a lot of time with. So RIP to BlackRock, I think was the developer on
Mm-hmm.
that game. But yeah, fantastic arcade racing game. Very very Burnout esque. Bender, your thoughts on this list? Anything stand out to you?
Looks like a pretty solid list. Yeah, I love Split Second as well. That game is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from Burnout, that's probably one of my favorite car themed games. It was really cool to like trigger those events, like
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
like something crashing down, you race underneath it and
Yeah.
stop the other cars behind you and stuff like that. So
Yep.
that was a really fun game. And then Crazy Taxi, it's a classic. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, same thing for me. The standout on this is Split Second, which is a 360 game from 10 years ago. So, but yeah, Split Second, man, what a game! I was so addicted to that game. I had to get the platinum trophy, and I had to do all the time trials and everything. I was online racing against people. I was doing everything in that game. It was a great time. So, yeah, if you haven't played Split Second, it's an older game now. Doesn't look as visually stunning as it once did, but it's a really cool, really fun game. Let's definitely check that one out. Like you said, Shadow Warrior, we know about that game. Assassin's Creed Chronicles, Crazy Taxi. So, solid list for February. That'll be available starting on 1st. All right, now to the things that are releasing starting this Tuesday. Our spotlight titles for the week, led off by The City of Final Fantasy NT. Now, I couldn't tell you guys like what you actually do in this game. It's a fighting game. It's a 3-on-3 like battle arena fighting game. This game is crazy. Like I watched a stream of this game. They streamed one recently. They had some type of event, and trying to figure out like what is going on in this game or what you're supposed to do is crazy. There's just people flying all over the screen. There's moves. There's the HUD. There's numbers everywhere. There's all kinds of like bars and things. I'm just like, wow, this looks overwhelming. So I couldn't tell you anything about what to do in Final Fantasy NT, other than the fact that it's a 3-on-3 brawler. You just kind of beat the hell out of each other with Final Fantasy characters. Looks like a lot of fun. The opening movie's kick ass. So if that sounds like something that you get into, watch some streams on this. I'm definitely interested. I want to get this at some point. Looks like another really cool fighting game to add to the collection. That we've seen obviously the last few weeks with Arcade Edition on Street Fighter V, Dragon Ball Fighters, and there's a bunch of other stuff coming out this year. The fighting game community continues to thrive here off games like this. So that'll be available Tuesday. Another game we want to spotlight is Wolverblade. So this is coming to the PS4 on Tuesday and the Xbox One on Wednesday. This game's been available on the Switch for a few months now, but it's coming to the other platforms this week. This game always looked really, really cool. We're actually going to feature it on the Tuesday night Indie Spotlight this week. So Tuesday,
Sweet.
10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel, we'll be streaming Wolverblade. Looks like a really fun side-scrolling like beat-em-up game, hack and slash game. It's it's got some old school like arcade, Final Fight. It's that Capcom game, Dungeons and Dragons, like that kind of vibe to it in terms of its kind of side-scrolling nature. So really, really looking forward to that. I love those kind of games. Wolverblade's got a really cool art style. It's very graphic and gory. On top of its kind of graphic style, but yeah, really looking forward to this one. Brent, this looks like something you get into as well, man.
Yeah, I'm really curious to check out this stream, and if I remember correctly, the PS4 and Xbox One versions will be running at 60 frames. Correct? Like this is
That is correct.
an improvement.
Yep, this is the kind of enhanced version or definitive edition, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it will be a little bit of an upgraded experience from what we originally got on the Switch.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll be tuning in. I'll be there with you.
Yep, you'll be there with me. It is cooperative, but it's local only, which is a bummer. Would have liked to have had you jump in there with me. We could play through it over the over the internet, but damn, local co-op be damned.
Yeah, I think what we'll try to do though is we'll have you do the stream for the Tuesday Night Indie Spotlight, and then later in the week, you and I will record a session of us using SharePlay.
Okay.
To kind of play through it, and we'll get that up on the site so you guys and girls can see what that game was like played cooperatively.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. With the Pro, we can use SharePlay at 60 frames, so that should actually work pretty good.
Yep.
So yeah, so look out for that on Tuesday. Bender, this one looks a little bit gory for your taste. Don't know what your thoughts are on Wolverblade. Were you interested in this one on the Switch at all?
I like the art style. It's cartoony, so it's not as bad. But but yeah, I mean it's something I might want to check out at some point.
Yeah, definitely. So once again, 10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel, Short Pause Gaming. Come on over there and check us out there. All right, let's get on to the rest of the releases for this week. So on Tuesday, Final Fantasy XIV gets its Rise of a New Sun update. So we talked about this game before, but it just continues to chug along and churn out these like excellent updates. And whenever you get a patch for Final Fantasy XIV, this is not like we fixed hit detection on this weapon. Like when you get a Final Fantasy 14 patch, like you're getting raids, you're getting story missions, you're getting all this new stuff that's being added into this game. It's just kind of part of how they update this game. So this patch will allow players to tackle the next arc in the Omega Raid series, a new trial featuring the first of the legendary 4 lords, which sounds really cool, and 2 new dungeons are included with this as well. The update adds Omega Sigmascape, which is the next arc in the Omega Raid series, as we mentioned. And this features familiar faces from Final Fantasy VI, which is awesome. In the high-level trial, players will come face-to-face with Bayako, one of the 4 lords. Screen just blanked on me. This encounter will lead to a new series of side quests. The patch will also add new main scenario quests, new beast tribe quests, and new customization options for players. The patch also brings a new map and rule set for PvP, a duty recorder to allow players to watch previous battles, housing updates for residential areas, and more. So all that in this one little patch that you get for this game. This free update for the game. So Final Fantasy 14 continues to just be a mammoth experience that draws millions and millions of people. Someday I'd like to get back to it. Someday. Call of Duty gets World War II gets its first DLC this week, The Resistance. So you get the normal 4 new maps, the zombie pack. We know what we're gonna get from a Call of Duty expansion at this point. That's of course exclusive to the PS4 for the first 30 days. So that will hit PS4 on Tuesday. Battlefield 1, not to be outdone, gets its next phase of its Turning Tides DLC. If you remember, this was kind of a 2-pronged update for this game. So there was phase 1 of Turning Tides, and phase 2 adds like the last 2 maps that are in this series. So that's coming to PS4 and Xbox One this week. Iron Banner's returning to Destiny 2, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Wolfenstein: The Freedom Chronicles, Episode 2, The Diaries of Agent Silent Death. The Diaries of Agent Silent Death. Coming to PS4 and Xbox One on Tuesday. I know Frankie wasn't a big fan of the first episode in this series. We'll see if this one fares a little bit better. Feral Fury comes to PS4. It's a twin stick, like dark, like Doom style, like twin stick shooter. Striker's Edge looks awesome, man. If we were playing Wolverblade on the Spotlight, definitely would be playing Striker's Edge, and I'd probably be playing it against you. But Striker's Edge looks like if Towerfall were a dodgeball game, is kind of how it's described. So you got people lined up on both sides throwing spears at each other. It looks like a lot of fun. Really want to play that game at some point. Bricks 2 is a brick breaker game. Out of Ammo is a PSVR game from our friends at Zen Studios, coming out on Tuesday. This looks like a cool mixture of a real-time strategy game, tower defense, and even a first-person shooter. You can actually zap right down onto the battlefield and take control and get on the front lines there. Now, Brent, what we didn't talk about at the top of the show was we started a new VR stream this week. You featured the Inpatient on there, and this week we're looking to hopefully feature Out of Ammo on there. Why don't you talk a little bit about the VR stream that we're doing?
Yeah, right now, like you mentioned, we started a stream this week called Exploring VR. That's a working title. We're not really sure if that's what we're going to stick with, but we had to slap something on there. But yeah, what we're hoping to do here with this stream is kind of put more focus on VR gaming. This is obviously a medium that's still trying to find itself, but it is growing, and there's going to be a lot of games coming out this year, so we do want to focus on VR. Make sure you give you guys and girls an idea of what these games are like. Obviously, watching a stream, you'll never fully understand, and there's no way you can fully explain what we're experiencing that you'll be like, oh, that sounds really cool. It doesn't matter how we sound or what you see on the screen. Until you put the headset on, you'll never fully, truly know. But we want to be able to at least give you an idea of what you can expect. I'll do my best to kind of give you an idea of what it's like to be in that world and kind of feature some of these titles that are kind of, not saying that VR games are kind of getting lost in the shuffle, but VR still, it's very difficult to kind of explain to people through streams, but we're going to try to do our best we can to kind of give you an idea of what a lot of these games are like in VR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still a new emerging technology. It's still a niche technology that not a lot of people have yet or have access to. So we want to do our best to try and highlight some of these experiences. And I mentioned this before, but when I jumped into Accounting Plus a few weeks back and played that for the Spotlight, it really opened my eyes. Like, man, like VR is coming along. Like, these games are getting better. These experiences are getting better. And there's so many experiences that I haven't even been able to jump in and play yet. So there's a bunch of stuff that I've missed from VR. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we feature on the stream here. I'll be on there with you in the chats to moderate the chats because you're in the headset, you can't see what anybody's saying. So I'll be in there with you. Can't promise that we'll stream a VR game every single week, but whenever we get a chance, we'll fire it up. Probably Thursday nights around 10 p.m. and we'll do some VR streams. But yeah, looking forward to Out of Ammo. I really like Zen Studios, so I think we're probably in for a good time with that one.
Yes,
Also coming to PSVR this week, the Pierhead Arcade, which looks like a kind of one of those carnival type of games. Cold Iron, interesting sounding PSVR game. We don't have any footage on it though, so that's always a bad omen. But it's described as a mixture of like Cuphead, Red Dead Redemption, and Arizona Sunshine, which is an interesting mixture there. So we'll see how that one turns out. Railway Empire comes to PS4 and Xbox One on Tuesday. It's a railroad building game. EA Sports UFC 3, the Champions Edition. So this is the kind of special edition that you pre-order and get a little bit early. The game actually comes out on Friday, but you can pre-order the Champions Edition, get a couple extra pieces of downloadable content as well. I don't think any of us will be jumping into this one. Time Recoil hits the Vita on Tuesday. Time Recoil is a game I played on the PS4 on the Indie Spotlight a few weeks back. Really cool twin stick shooter that deals with time manipulation. I really liked that game from 10 Tons. So I think that's going to be right at home on the Vita. And A Semblance comes to the Xbox One on Tuesday. This is a first-person adventure game. On Wednesday, Fruitakia 2 hits the PS4. It's a match 3 game. Thursday is Switch Day, so got a bunch of Switch releases. Night in the Woods Weird Autumn Edition comes to the Switch. So obviously a very well-received game on other platforms coming over to the Switch this week. SteamWorld Dig hits the Switch on Thursday. So Brent, I know you're a big SteamWorld fan. Shiftoline's Enhanced Edition, another game that's been on other platforms, hits the Switch this week. Island Flight Simulator, Skyforce Reloaded, another game we featured on the Indie Spotlight a few weeks back. It's actually a pretty cool shoot-'em-up game. Her Majesty's Spiffing will be on the Switch on Thursday. Arcade Archives Neo Geo Samurai Showdown 2, the classic fighting game, will be on the Switch on Thursday. Eternal Blade hits the Switch, and Restless Spirit comes to PSVR. I think it's a Japanese horror game. Couldn't find much information on that one, though. So we'll have to see how that one turns out. On Friday, as I mentioned, EA Sports UFC 3 gets its official release. Nightmares from the Deep 3 Davy Jones hits PS4 and Xbox One. This is another hidden object game from Artifact Mundi. And Mad Carnage, looks like a vehicle combat game for the Switch on Friday. Brent, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Boyce. All right, guys, let's get into the news. And we're going to start with the story that came out earlier this week from Kotaku. Jason Schreier kind of dove into what's going on over at Bioware and what's happening with Anthem and the Dragon Age franchise. And a lot of good stuff in this article. Jason Schreier, I know Kotaku is kind of a mixed bag in terms of like how people like him or people hate him. They're very divisive amongst gamers, but there's no doubt Jason Schreier does a hell of a job writing his articles. He does his research, does his homework, always talking to people within the industry to get the facts before he goes out with his articles. And this one was no exception. And basically what we found out here is Anthem is now scheduled for release in early 2019, according to 3 people familiar with the project. The fall 2018 window mentioned during the E3 announcement was never realistic, one source said. Exact dates remain in flux, and Anthem's developers must also plan for a beta release, an EA Access launch, an ongoing schedule of patches and updates, but it appears unlikely to developers that publisher EA will allow BioWare to delay the game any further than March 2019, when the company's 2019 fiscal year comes to an end. So boys, right out the gate, we find out that Anthem is being pushed to 2019. Bender, I know you were shocked with that one. But the story goes on to say, with the year left in development and a climate that's grown more turbulent thanks to controversies over EA's Battlefront 2 loot chest and Activision's Destiny 2, pressure is now mounting for Anthem to be great. In the past few weeks, Schreier spoke to more than half a dozen people close to the project, all of whom spoke anonymously because they were not authorized to talk about the game, and they've described feeling both optimistic and anxious. Optimistic that they can make something good, but anxious at the number of forces that appear to be pushing against them. Anthem has been in development since 2012, at first under Mass Effect director Casey Hudson, who left the company, but who has since returned to lead BioWare as the studio head. The game remained in pre-production at BioWare's lead Edmonton studio for a very long time. Some close to Anthem team have criticized that fact, suggesting that the game's development was floundering. But veteran Anthem staff point out that most big new franchises have long gestation periods. Destiny, most notably, was in pre-production for years as the developers at Bungie tried to figure out what a persistent multiplayer shooter might look like. At points during 2014 and 15, Schreier heard several rumors the Anthem project was not going well, in part because of the long-running issues that Bioware has faced with Frostbite engine. Also, and in part because making a game of this nature can be an excruciating process.
There's Frostbite rearing its head
Frostbite, again, causing an issue for a game outside of Battlefield. Over the last year, as Anthem's production ramped up and BioWare began putting more and more of its staff on the project, things appear to have improved. When Schreier asked one source recently whether Anthem's struggles fell more into the category of this game is screwed or game development is just really hard, the source said that over time, it had veered from the former into the latter. Other people close to BioWare have said similar things, although it's not hard to find developers willing to complain about Frostbite, the game engine initially designed for Battlefield, which has impeded many of BioWare's projects over the past decade. The past year has been tumultuous for BioWare after and involved some major changes to the studio. One was to reboot the fourth Dragon Age, which at this time was codenamed Joplin, according to two sources. The goal, those sources said, was to implement more quote-unquote live elements into the game. Yeah, this is interesting. Although two of those sources stress that this next Dragon Age game will still have a heavy focus on characters and story, whenever it does come out. It's not clear what a live version of Dragon Age might look like, but EA has been public about its embrace of games as a service and its lack of interest in releasing $60 games that do not have any sort of revenue tail, whether the means paid extra content, microtransactions, or something else. Quick update to this. The day following the publication of this article, BioWare studio head Casey Hudson confirmed that the next Dragon Age will indeed be a live game. Mm-hmm. Quote, reading lots of feedback regarding Dragon Age, and I think you'll be relieved to see that the team what the team is working on, he wrote on Twitter. Story and character focused. Too early to talk about details, but when we talk about live, it just means designing a game for continued storytelling after the main story. Lastly, most recently, sources say Anthem's developers have been watching the ongoing anger in the Destiny 2 community over the state of the game. Destiny fans have grown irritated at Destiny 2's lack of content, Bungie's poor communication, and the lingering feeling that Destiny 2 is repeating its predecessor's mistakes. Although fans and pundits have suggested that Destiny 2's inability to capture hardcore players may leave an opening for Anthem to grab the crowd, some BioWare developers have expressed worry that their game will face its own growing pains, as all games of this nature do. Most persistent action games have had to recover from rocky launches, including Destiny, Diablo 3, and The Division. The question is, how much patience will EA have for Anthem? So, boys, let's talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about Anthem. Obviously, Bender, you weren't surprised. You mentioned this a couple times, and I think we all felt this way, that this was just maybe not realistic like one of the developers said about getting Anthem out this year. But it doesn't sound like EA is going to give BioWare too much time after 2018 to get this game out. It does sound like BioWare is not only going all in on Anthem, but it sounds like BioWare is starting to feel a little bit of pressure here, especially after everything that happened with Andromeda and how badly that performed. Boyce, what's your take on what's going on at BioWare and what's going on with Anthem?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, man. It's that line in there where they talk about the fall 2018 was never realistic for the studio. The fact that they ever put that date on there or that window to begin with, it sounds like nobody in there felt that was ever going to be like something that they could hit. And now, from what it sounds like EA is like, look, like this game has to come out this fiscal year. Like all of our board members and all of our plans all revolve around this game coming out as a part of this fiscal year. And that's the thing that worries me. It worries me because it sounds like even if this game's not ready for prime time, a la Mass Effect Andromeda, like even if this game is not where it needs to be, like it's still going to get pushed out the door. And that's not good, obviously. I don't know. Reading through this as well, man, it also sounds like, the entirety of BioWare is working on this game right now. Like
Yep.
they've taken people off other projects, off the Dragon Age project. They're like, look, we have until March of 2019 to finish this game and get it out the door. And it sounds to me like if this doesn't work, like if Anthem comes out and it flops or it's got issues, doesn't work like it's supposed to, like this could even possibly be the end of BioWare. Like that's how important this release is for EA and for this studio. So to think that even if this game is not in the state it needs to be and it's still going to get pushed out the door, that just worries me, man. There's an interesting part in this article too where they talk about how EA is not the bad guy that people paint them out to be. You know, they talk about the relationship that they have with EA. It doesn't sound like there's an antagonistic relationship between BioWare and EA, and they talk about, you know, everything that's said on the internet is not how it actually is in real life. But it does sound like from a business relationship perspective, like I don't know if EA is willing to budge on moving this back any more than the March 2019 date. And I don't know, man. That just doesn't sit right with me.
Well, if you look at EA, I mean, you have to think about from their perspective. BioWare's on a short leash right now because regardless of what anyone says, BioWare delivered a Mass Effect game that drastically underperformed. People were pissed about it. It didn't review well. It's Mass Effect. It's really difficult to take a good property like Mass Effect and just completely blow it. What happened with Andromeda? I understand there's a lot of people that still like it. There's a group that it's kind of got this small cult group following that people do appreciate it. But for the most part, this game bombed in terms of sales. It didn't review well. And I can guarantee you right now that that's a massive franchise that EA had to say, we're putting it on ice for a while. Okay, that's not easy for them to do. And I'm sure I'm not saying they're pissed at BioWare, but look, after the reception that Anthem received at E3, all the hype that blew up, okay, EA saw that. They're like, okay, people really want this game. Now you got Destiny 2 kind of floundering right now, kind of trying to find out what it wants to be. EA notices that too. They want to get in on it. They want to get on that hardcore audience. That's why they're like, and then you bring in the fiscal year stuff. EA is like, look, we have an opportunity to crush it right now with this game. And that's why we're not going to let you push it out any further. And you guys have to deliver on this. And BioWare, man, they're feeling the crunch. They know what's on the line. They know if this game tanks, BioWare is in a lot of trouble. You know, regardless if they're working on Dragon Age. I mean, they Mass Effect, what happened to Mass Effect is criminal. It's really, really bad. That's not good to see a franchise die like that. And that puts BioWare in the hot seat, dude.
Yeah, the other side of this coin that's really interesting too, and they reference it in here. Jason references it in here when they're talking about just the starts that games of this ilk have had. So Destiny, when that first came out, it was a process to get Destiny to the point that it eventually got to. Now, granted, it was kind of the first game that started this whole games as a service, loot-based shooter kind of subgenre that's kind of sprung up since Destiny was created. So, you know, even though it was kind of the first one and it had to take its lumps, it took a while for us to get to the Taken King, to get to the, you know, the quest system, and to get to where the game was kind of in a place where people wanted it to be. The Division, where the Division's at now, is not where the Division was at when it came out. So it's taken the Division. I don't know how long the Division's been out now. It's been a year, maybe more. How long was it? 2016. So that's almost 2 years for that game now.
Yeah,
it's almost 2 years for that game, and that game's been through hell to get to where it's at right now. And I would say probably just recently it's kind of had this new renaissance, and people are starting to get back into it. And you know, it's always had like its core group of followers that have supported it, but now more people are starting to take notice to it. Especially in the wake of Destiny's issues, like people are starting to get into the Division for their like loot based MMO shooter fix, whatever you want to call it. So just looking at the way this genre has progressed over the last like 3 years or 4 years or whatever, it's crazy to think that when Anthem comes out of the gates, like they have to knock it out of the park like right away. Like they really don't have a margin for error from what it sounds like. So, you know, I anticipate when this game comes out, it's probably going to sell well. Like people are going to go in there and they're going to buy it. So maybe that'll give it a little bit of leeway. But you know, I don't know if it just seems like EA would have to look at what's happened with these other games and have to realize that this thing may not be a home run right out of the gate, and it's going to take them time to kind of figure this out. This is a very, very ambitious game. I mean, not only is it taking all the Destiny elements that we know and love, but it's adding in all the Bioware elements that we know and love, like this big grand narrative and story and open world that they're gonna have to get right, and with incredible technology that's behind it as well. So I mean, it's very possible that when this game comes out, it's not going to be 100% where it needs to be. And that's the big question: is EA going to give them the time to do it and or to fix it up? And I don't know. I just can they really even afford to close BioWare at this point? I mean, I mean, who else do they have left? I mean, they've got Respawn, I guess, and they've got Dice, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
they can't make every single game that they want to make with just those guys, right? So I don't know, man. I'm just kind of I don't really know what to think in terms of how EA is going to react to this.
Right. Now, Bender, I know, like we mentioned, you were really excited for Anthem. It was on your most anticipated list. You really want to play this game. You love this type of games of service. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. Okay, now, first of all, we saw the fall 2018 thing at E3. We're like, okay, cool, fall. Maybe, probably not. And then you see this report come out that one of the developers said, that's not even realistic. There's no way. Okay, so fall is September, October, November, December. September to December. And it sounds like EA is not going to let them go past March. Is 6 months going to be enough time to go from not realistic at all to finalized product? Are you concerned that this thing is going to get rushed out in rough shape, or it might just be another a fumble by BioWare like Mass Effect was?
Yeah, I'm definitely concerned about that. I agree with what you guys were saying. I mean, it sounds like EA is not going to let them push it any further past March 2019, and that's could be a problem. I mean, the first of all, it's going to cause them to have to really crunch and work long hours, and that takes a toll on people, after a while. If they don't get it completely polished before March, then they may have to push it out anyway. Then it'll be a bad product, might not sell well. Then they'll have to patch it and fix it over the next several months. I mean, could be a big mess if they try to rush it too much. So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they have the time that they need to finish it and get it to where they want it to be. But it's definitely a concern because this is a game that we're all looking forward to. And if it turns out to be bad, then it's going to be bad for us and it's going to be bad for them. So I hope that doesn't happen.
And I think another thing that that I'm concerned about is, when Destiny came out, it had its detractors. There were people that were upset about it, didn't like this and didn't like that, but it improved over time. Okay, so we saw how the reaction was when the game wasn't what they wanted it to be. Now Destiny 2 comes out and it's stumbling out of the gate, and now it seems like the outcry is even louder. There's more people who are pissed about Destiny 2 not being what they want it to be. And people are going away from Destiny 2. They're walking away. They're not even giving it the time of day. I mean, is this type of expectations now? People want these games to be good, and if it's not what they want it to be, they're done with it. And I think that's something EA's got to be concerned about as well. Because if Anthem comes out, people are going to want something new to replace Destiny. And if people jump into Anthem and it's not where it needs to be, the same loud cry that you're hearing from the people from Destiny 2 is going to be even louder with Anthem, and that's going to affect sales even quicker, I think. I think that if the word gets out that this thing is not where it needs to be, there's not a lot of stuff to do, I think that's going to hurt sales more than it hurt Destiny 2 sales. I think there's just an expectation with these games as service now where people they know what they want, and if they don't get it right out of the gate, they just go nuts, and people just stop playing it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit when we were talking about Destiny 2, but it's like people were willing to some people were. And when Destiny first came out, there was a lot of detractors for Destiny 1.
Oh yeah.
There were a lot of people that were like, this and that, but there was a hardcore group that formed around that game and they kept it going. And then all those people that all the naysayers, by the time the Taken King came around, they were all on board. They were all big time fans. So I think you hit the nail on the head there, Brent. Part of the issue is going to be, the Division came out 2 years ago, and that was a new thing as well that people were excited about. It's like this new genre, but we've seen this now for 3 or 4 years now, and by the time Anthem comes out, are people going to be patient with this game anymore? Do they want to get into another games as a service game and spend the first year while the developer figures the game out. You know, do they want to go through that process again that they've gone through with Destiny, with the Division, and now we're going through with Destiny 2? Like I don't like you said, the leash is getting shorter and shorter with that type of patience. So by the time we get to March 2019, and by the time Anthem gets out, like that leash is going to be real short. So
Yeah.
let's just hope that the product that Anthem delivers initially is enough to get people excited about the future of the game. I want to mention something too about the date, and I don't necessarily blame EA for them like demanding that this game comes out in March 2019. Because from the story here, it sounds like they started development on this in 2012, and
Right.
there was a long like pre-production, gestation, floundering period for the game where they didn't have their stuff together for whatever reason, to the point that some people thought that this game was going to be canceled. Like
Right.
that's how bad it was going at first. Now it sounds like they've gotten on track, but 7 years, like the 7 years, you know, to develop a game and to pump resources into the game. I mean, at some point you got to say enough is enough, right? As a business, as a publisher, you got to be like, look, guys, like we need this game. It's been 7 years now. Like we have to get a product out in front of people. So I don't necessarily blame EA for that. I will say though that releasing a game that is not where it needs to be is far more detrimental than delaying this game a little bit more, even if no matter what, you know, effect it has on your bottom line or on your fiscal year or whatnot. I got to think that with Anthem's long-term prospects and with this as a games as a service, a game that could come out and sustain, you know, an audience for 2, 3, 4 years, however long, like it would be much more detrimental to release Anthem in an unfinished state than to give it the extra few months that it needs, regardless of how it affects the bottom line initially. At least from an outsider looking in. I don't know the business or the bottom line stuff, how all this works, but it just seems like to me like you would want to get this game right at the beginning so that you can sustain that 2, 3, 4 year games as a service run that this game is going to have.
And here's two things I want to mention to you guys. I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. We talked about you mentioned Destiny 1. You know, there was a lot of naysayers, but there was the hardcore audience that were like, we're sticking with it. And that's the ones that kind of kept Destiny going forward and giving Bungie all this feedback. And then, you know, Destiny 2 comes around and kind of abandons the hardcore, tries to focus on the casual people. Now you got the hardcore, the people that did their best defending you in Destiny 1. They are the most outspoken around. They're the most vocal. They're the most angry. They're pissed off. They feel betrayed. And EA wants to target this crowd? Man, I mean, you think about that. You're bringing in people who are angry, who want something. And if you think you're going to target that crowd and rush out a game and get the support, man, I don't know if that's the crowd I'd want to target right now, because they're angry and they're pissed and they're very, very critical. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about, boys, is you know, you mentioned this game started 7 years. The development started 7 years ago, and there's talk that, you know, it might be, you know, it could have possibly been canceled. Do you think EA was considering canceling it, and then they saw how Destiny did and said, hey, that's kind of like what our game's going to do. Let's kind of keep this thing going. And now, like you said, it's dragged out 7 years. They're pumping money into it. Do you think Destiny is kind of maybe one of the reasons that, you know, it kind of avoided that cancellation?
I think that's very possible. I mean, EA has said as much. Like they want their Destiny, like they want a Destiny game in their stable. So I don't think there's any question that Destiny and its success and the kind of way it's built this new subgenre, like the way that that's gone, I don't think there's any question that that's had an effect on how they view Anthem inside of EA. So whether or not, you know, that was a direct result or is directly responsible for the continued development of Anthem, I can't say. But I don't think there's any question that at this point, as we stand here in 2018, like this has given them, you know, kind of the urge to keep developing this game because they see what something like this can become for their stable. Like when they look at Activision's numbers from last year and they see World War II and Destiny 2 at the top of the highest selling games of the year list, they're like, okay, yeah, like that, we want to get in on some of that action. So
Right.
they see that from a bottom line perspective. So yeah, I don't think there's any question that factors into it.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff with Anthem. Now, I want to touch on Dragon Age for just a moment. We didn't get a whole lot from Dragon Age other than the stuff that we talked about, but I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. A Dragon Age game, a game that is always been a single-player focus, with the exception of some of the multiplayer stuff they added on. but a live Dragon Age experience. A live. We don't know what that all entails, but having a live element implemented into a Dragon Age. What do you think they mean by that, boys? Do you think that's loot boxes? Do you think that's something along those lines, or do you think maybe possibly they're focusing on end game stuff? Maybe.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. To me, it doesn't necessarily sound like loot boxes. It sounds like, when they talk about it as a continued experience. Let me get the exact quote. When they say story and character focus, too early to talk details, but when we talk about live, it just means they designing a game for continued storytelling after the main story. So the fact that they call it continued storytelling, I don't know. I think of maybe something like Destiny for Dragon Age as well. Like they want to create this big epic game, and then, like you said, have some type of an end game, maybe a dungeon that you can continuously go to and get new loot, or stuff like that. Like they could do like the strike raid kind of format in
Right.
Dragon Age, in like that kind of setting. So maybe they do something like that, and then we see like those expansions that do stuff like Destiny, that give you a new campaign to dive into, probably more substantial than something you get from Destiny, because this is an RPG. So you get a new expansion add-on that adds 20 hours of story in there, and it adds new dungeons and new things that you can get into and continuously play. So that's what I thought of. I thought of more of like the Destiny model for Dragon Age, and I think something like that has the potential to work if it's executed properly. But man, can BioWare sustain like 2 games as a service games like that? Like they're gonna
Man.
have to continuously make that stuff for Anthem as well, and then we already see it's taken the whole damn studio to make that game. Like how is that gonna work with Dragon Age 2?
Yeah. I gotta believe Dragon Age is probably just a ways off. I mean, a ways. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, if they're pushing 2019, March 2019 to get Anthem fully out there, and then you guys support it afterwards. I mean, we're talking Dragon Age 2020, 21 probably.
Maybe a next gen game. I don't know.
Yeah. Bender, what's your thoughts on some of these like an RPG that's always been, single player focused, introducing live elements? Do you want to see live elements added into your RPGs? Do you want to see live elements in a Xenoblade type of game?
I think it would be fine. Because it doesn't make me, from what they're saying, it sounds to me not so much like an always online thing like Destiny, but like Boyce was saying, just continuous content. Like they keep adding more, new locations or new missions or new raids or whatever. Which I mean, that would be cool if it's a game I really enjoy playing. I wouldn't mind for them to keep adding to it and give me something to do and keep my interest in it. That's fine with me. It doesn't sound like a bad thing.
No, if it's done right.
Let me ask you this, Brent, too, on that. Do you think it could possibly be an MMO? Like, could they do like the Final Fantasy 14 route with Dragon Age?
I mean, that sounds like a lot more than continued story support, though. I mean, that's like a whole different type of genre, almost an MMO compared to like a traditional RPG. If they did go that route, Casey's got to come back and readjust that statement, because that's a little bit more than just continued lives or continued storytelling.
Yeah, I just think about like when these patches come out for Final Fantasy 14, and they're continuously, like, each of these patches build on the story that was released in the expansion prior to it. So it's like every time a new expansion comes out, like Heaven's Ward or Stormblood, like those things come out, and then each patch builds on the story, and then it builds
that's
builds
a great
up
point.
until it eventually leads to the next expansion. So there's a lot of story in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Maybe Casey's like, he's not revealing the fact that it's an MMO. He's just addressing the live rumor that they'll be adding stuff afterwards, but it's just an MMO anyways. So that'd be hilarious if that's what it turned out to be. But I don't know, man. That's taking on even more though. If they're making an MMO to go alongside Anthem, I mean, that's just, do they have the manpower for that? Do they have the? That just seems like a lot for BioWare, and I don't know if BioWare would be able to hold up on that. But
yeah.
Really interesting article though. Head over to Kotaku, check it out. It's a great read. There's a lot of good stuff in there. We're all very curious to see what's going to happen with Anthem. I mean, we all want this game to do very, very well. We're all big fans of like the Destiny model, even the Division to a degree. I really liked what I had played with the Division. Then some stuff happened with the with the incursions, and then I kind of moved on to some other stuff. But for the most part, it was very appealing. It just didn't do anything for me early on. I'd love to jump back into that at some point because it sounds like it's fantastic. But we all want Anthem to do well. We just hope EA isn't putting too much pressure on Bioware where they're not able to deliver what everyone really wants this game to be. And that seems to be a problem with a lot of these games, is the expectations that are set and what we actually experience when the game launches.
Yeah.
So, great stuff there. That's a good article. But let's move on. Up next, Xbox Game Pass made a big announcement this week. This is going to include all new first-party releases day one on Xbox Pass or Game Pass. This kind of caught me off guard because you're basically essentially removing sales off the shelves and going right into the Game Pass. Any Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3, State of Decay 2, everything coming out this year and forward, including any Gears of War games and Halo games, will be included in Game Pass on day one when they launch. That's and immediately when you think about that, you're like, okay, State of Decay 2, Sea of Thieves, Crackdown 3. All three of those games you already covered. If you buy Game Pass for a year, you've already paid all those off. It's just that it's really, it caught me off guard. I didn't think that would be something Microsoft would do. And then to make it even more appealing, obviously Xbox Game Pass is like a Netflix service. Games come in, games go out. And, you can purchase the games if you want to own them, and, you get a discount. Your saves never go away. Even if the game cycles out, you keep the saves. And then if it comes back in, you can continue playing. But Microsoft, or Aaron Greenberg made a tweet on Twitter, and Larry Hurd basically translated, said, in other words, the Xbox One exclusives will be a permanent part of Game Pass going forward. A Microsoft spokesperson also said this is not a limited window. We are adding these new Microsoft Studio titles to the service with the intention of them being a regular part of the value for being an Xbox Game Pass subscriber going forward. So to me, that says these games aren't even going to cycle out. They're going to be permanently placed in there. So, boys, at first glance, this is a great deal.
Yeah.
It really is. If you're an Xbox owner, $120, not only are you getting all the games that they add in, cycle in and out, every first-party game will be there day one, and it'll be available forever.
Yeah, this was a huge announcement, sent ripples through the gaming community, and this is yet another just innovative initiative that Microsoft is putting forward with the Xbox brand. We've seen with their backwards compatibility initiatives, with their Game Pass initiatives, they're doing a lot of cool stuff with the Xbox brand, and this is some of the stuff that you kind of see when your console's playing from behind, so to speak. So Xbox is like let's go out there, let's take some risks. When you have the 360 and that's at the top of the heap, and you're selling a ton of consoles, and you're just kind of riding off the Gears, Halo, Forza thing, Fable, and you're just kind of riding that out. You don't really have to worry about too much iteration on that, because you're killing it, right? You're doing everything you need to do to keep people engaged and get people to buy your systems. So there's not that impetus to take risks and innovate. But now that we see them in this generation in a different position, now we're starting to see a lot of these innovative features come out of Xbox. And would they have done this stuff had they still been on the top seat? Possibly. I'm not saying they wouldn't have, but this just shows like their commitment to the brand, their commitment to innovation in this space. And they've always been somebody that's tried to see the future with video games. So with the 360, it was the console being the center of your entertainment world. And we saw them harp on that message for years and years. Even at the beginning of the Xbox One, like what they were trying to do with Connect and with an all digital system, and with the game sharing and all that stuff, like that was a very forward thinking future vision of gaming. Just the gaming world wasn't ready for it. So so they had to kind of take a step back on that. But they've always been like trying to take that next step, trying to figure out what works. Like Xbox Live, like that was, they kind of created this whole gaming internet thing. Like they started it with Xbox Live, so they've been, they've always been at the forefront of innovation. So I respect and appreciate them for that. And this is this is a huge deal, man. For $10 a month, like you have access to all of the first party exclusives that are going to come out of Game Pass. That's huge, man. Like for somebody like me, if I'm not sold on Sea of Thieves, like I can hop in there on March for $10 and I can play Sea of Thieves and see if it's something I'm interested in. And then I can just, if I want to, I can either keep subscribing to Game Pass and continue to play it until I'm done with it, or even you get a discount on it if you decide to purchase it. You get like 20% off or whatever it is for being a Game Pass member. If you decide to go ahead and purchase the game, that's a part of the service. So this is a huge deal for consumers. Where I'm not sure how it's going to work is with the retail partners and with with game sales. With selling games on the, is the subscription for Xbox Game Pass, is that going to be enough to override whatever sales they would have lost on this game? I don't know the answer to that. It's just gonna be interesting to see how that all plays out. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but with Game Pass, you don't have to sign up for a subscription, right? It's just a month thing. You have to sign a contract, right?
I don't believe. I think it is monthly.
I think it's just $10 a month, right? Yeah. So if that's the case, like if I'm interested in Sea of Thieves, I could sign up for Game Pass in March, and maybe in April too, because it comes out towards the end of March. So I pay $10 or $20 for those 2 months. I play the game, and then if I'm done with it, then I move on and I stop my Game Pass subscription. And maybe I bring it back on when Crackdown comes out, and I want to get in there and test that game out. Do you think Microsoft is banking on people just keeping this subscription and just riding it forward, or are there going to be a lot of people that kind of hop in and out for when they're interested to experience a game? That's what I'm interested in, because to me, when you do a service like this, like they're expecting people to stay subscribed to the Game Pass, and that's why they can afford to do this. Like when people subscribe to Netflix, they don't go in and out of Netflix. Like you're just subscribed to Netflix, and you're just on there for the long haul. So are people ready to do that with Game Pass? I suppose so. I mean, we've been doing it with Xbox Live and PS Plus and all that stuff for years now. So gamers are used to subscribing to things. So I think that's what they're banking on. I don't know if that's going to be the way it plays out. I'm very curious to see how that's going to work. But this is a huge deal for gamers, a great deal for consumers. I mean, it's a win-win for them.
Yeah, I was just I was shocked by this. I was like, wow. And I asked myself, I was like, I wonder if this wasn't a year where Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, and Crackdown 3 are your highlight first-party titles that we know of so far. If this was a year where Halo 6 and Gears 5 and a possible new Fable game is coming out, would Microsoft have been so quick to throw this out there? I'm going to say no. Because if you look at Sea of Thieves, you look at Crackdown 3, both of those, with the exception of the Sea of Thieves beta, which has created a lot of buzz, both of these games really didn't have the best kind of like buzz around them. Crackdown 3, for all intents and purposes, had just a terrible aura around it. And then you had Sea of Thieves with this, what the hell is this game? So when you throw out something like this, it sounds really cool, but it didn't sound like it'd be like a really big risk. Because I mean, for all intents and purposes, these didn't sound like these were going to sell very well. There wasn't a lot of hype behind them, other than for the people who are invested in Xbox, the Xbox the community who only own Xbox. Obviously, the first party stuff is appealing to them. But from somebody who just looks at these titles and I don't know if I'm going to buy these games. They don't really stand out to me. You put out this thing, you're like, oh yeah, I'll do it. That's 3 games right there. It's $180 if they're all $60 a piece. And I just saved $60 by signing up for this pass. So whatever, I'll get it. That's cool. And then obviously, you got the pass. You have all the other games in there that you can play, the games that you haven't played yet. So I mean, the pass is very, very appealing. And I think there will be people that will sign on. Obviously, there's gonna be some people who skip around on it. But I think if you have an Xbox One and you pay $120 a year, not only are you going to get all the first party stuff right away, but you're going to have a whole catalog of games to play. I think people will be inclined to stick on it like Netflix, because there's just so much to get out of that for $10 a month. But if this were a year where Halo 5 or Halo 6 and Gears 5 and a new Fable game coming out, I don't know if Microsoft would have jumped at this like this. I don't think that would have been a good. I don't think they'd be like, oh man, we desperately need to get these games in people's hands, because they're not going to sell well. Those games are going to sell a lot, and I don't think they'd need a Game Pass thing like this. But the fact that they mentioned that Gears, Forza, and Halo will be included in this, that just makes it sound more appealing, and that's brilliant, dude.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that factored into it. Like you said, it's not a lot of excitement necessarily around Crackdown or State of Decay in just in general. Like you said, there are the hardcore circles around those games that are really excited for them. But I think for the most part, if you were to poll like a general majority of gamers at this point, they're like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not really too excited, or maybe they don't have an opinion one way or another on the game right now. So to be able to get people to spend money for this service to access these games that they may not have otherwise paid for, like that's got to be obviously what they're thinking of here. They're thinking of people getting out, signing up for this service, and this is $10 a month coming in from however many millions of people will sign up for this. That's coming into them, and they may not even have bought the game to begin with. So
that's $10 a month that you're getting from people who might not even spend $60 on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're at least getting something out of it. Bender, you're an Xbox. You have an Xbox One. How appealing is Game Pass now to you, knowing that every first party game, Ori and the Wisp, what is it, Will of the Wisps?
Yeah.
That'll be included in there. All these games will be included in Game Pass. How appealing is it to you now?
It's very appealing to me now. I think it's a great move on their part. $10 a month doesn't sound like a lot. It's not going to be a huge strain on anyone's budget. So, I mean, it's going to be something that's going to, be one of those things that people will probably be willing to put in a subscription and just leave it and just, pay it every month and just play whatever they want. Even if there are people like Boyce was saying who want to drop in and drop out, I mean, a certain percentage of them are going to pay for their subscription, then forget about it and be charged for a few extra months. I mean, or just, say, well, whatever, it's only $10 a month and just leave it. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a good move on their part. By the time the big games come out, Halo and Gears and Forza, I mean, they're going to probably have a bigger install base with the Game Pass, and they're probably going to have more people subscribe to it. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a good move on their part. And I'll be subscribing to it. And I like, for example, with Sea of Thieves, I mean, that was a game I wasn't 100% sold on yet either. So it'll be a good price to jump in and play that game. And, if they have in-game purchases, that's going to be more opportunities for people to spend money on it if they really like it and stuff like that. And yeah, all the other great games that are going to be coming out, be able to have access to those as well as the ones that are already on the Game Pass. I mean, I think it's a great deal. So, yeah, it's definitely a cool thing, and I like the idea. It's a great deal.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, March 19th, I'm signing up for it.
Yeah,
simple as that. I'll sign up for it on March 19th and go for a year and see if I get what I want out of it. And if I do, it's gonna be like one of those things, man, where if you sign up for it and you go through a month and you're playing games, you're not even gonna be thinking, oh, I gotta cancel that. It's not even gonna be in the back of your mind because you have all the access to all these games. Now, if you go through it and Sea of Thieves is terrible and Crackdown 3 is terrible and all the games you've already played and they're terrible, you'll be like, oh man, I gotta remember to cancel that. But if you're enjoying it and you're getting everything out of it and you're playing all these different games, hell yeah, people are going to forget about it. They're going to let it just run. And that's the appeal of this because you get so much out of it. This just blew my mind. I was really impressed by this announcement, dude. This is a big risk on Microsoft's part, but the more you look at it, the more you think about it, they're going to make a boatload of money on this, dude.
Off of what you guys are saying too, I just canceled my Final Fantasy 14 subscription the other day. And I haven't played that game in like a year. so yeah, I'm one of the people that would sign up for something and just forget about it, and it would just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
And
because of guys like you, they keep kicking out these massive expansions.
Exactly. Bender hit on something interesting there too. Is might we see this the model for how they do their first party games changing? Phil's made no bones about the fact that he wants these like multiplayer like experiences, right? Like he wants games that people can play for a long time to come. Like, will they start thinking about different revenue models and for these games? Will we see more microtransactions in Microsoft first party games because they're anticipating people only paying the $10 for the Game Pass, or them just jumping into it as part of their Game Pass subscription? Do they then start to think about different revenue models in game? Like, for, like you said, for Sea of Thieves, do we get treasure chests that give you different outfits and stuff for your character? Like, is that stuff going to be part of the game now? I think that's interesting to think about.
Mm-hmm. Dude, microtransactions is on everybody's mind in terms of publishers and developers. I mean, if there's a way they can get it in there, they're going to get it in there. And by having all these more people jumping into these first party games, yeah, it's going to be appealing. It's going to be an interesting thought for Microsoft. You know, look, hey, we have millions of more people picking up Crackdown 3 now because of this. How can we get a little bit more out of them?
Yeah, and this is, man, it's such a slippery slope, man. Like, I don't want to see console gaming turn into phone gaming. Like, right. I don't want every game I load up to, there's a loot box in every single game. You know, every single game is trying to has an ad or something in there. It's like, I don't want us to get to that point. And with something like this is a slippery slope where something like that could be in our console future. Like, I understand that budgets are going up, and every time a new piece of technology comes out, it just gets that much more expensive to make a game, and developers need to figure out other models to do this kind of stuff. But yeah, if I had a choice between like spending, putting microtransaction in every game and maybe just raising the price of games just in general, like, I would pick the latter. So I don't want us to get to a point where console looks anything like phone gaming, because that's not going to be good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And I hope we don't go that route. I don't think it'll get as bad as phone gaming, but like I said, man, many times, microtransactions are here to stay. It's either going to be microtransactions or we're paying $70, $80 for games. So gamers, get ready, because it's getting to that point. It's either going to be accept microtransactions or get ready to shell out more money for games. And if that's the case, all of a sudden Game Pass is even more appealing. If these games go up to $80 a month, $80 a game, I'm only paying $10 for my Game Pass. Winning.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, man, with all of this discussion about microtransactions and all the blowback that these developers and publishers are getting, and at some point that's got to be a conversation. It's probably one that's already happening, but it's something that they need to seriously think about as an industry, like where they want to go with the revenue model. And there's always going to be different revenue models out there, but like the core revenue model for gaming, it has always been like purchasing the game off of a store shelf or off a digital store shelf. So they really need to think about how they're gonna tackle that going forward. But do you think this is kind of the beginnings of maybe a more elaborate like Xbox Live in the future? Like, will we see Game Pass rolled into your Xbox Live subscription? Is this going to become like a core part of the Xbox experience? Like, maybe to streamline things, maybe they put all this stuff in one subscription. Do you think that's something that might come down the line?
I wonder if Game Pass will actually make Xbox Live look even more appealing. Because, I mean, if you pick up these games, you sign up for Game Pass. Like, all right, look, I'm going to pick up, I get Halo 5 or Halo 6 this month. I want to be able to play it online. I mean, you don't need Xbox Live to utilize Xbox Game Pass, correct?
I don't know. I was just going to ask you that.
If I guess that's something I need to look into. But if you don't,
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so either. But if you don't, then all of a sudden that's going to make Xbox Live look more appealing. I get Halo 6. I really like the game. It's an awesome single player. But I want to play some of this multiplayer now. I'm going to sign up for Xbox Live. So you get people in at $10 a month, and then whatever it is, an extra $5 a month to get Xbox Live for the year. So an extra $5. Now you got people kind of like going hand in hand with Xbox Live. Game Pass kind of gets you in, and then you get one more thing with Xbox Live. Yeah. So that's one number. Those are some numbers I want to look at when this kicks in. I want to see what Game Pass numbers are, because if we were thinking back to like the PlayStation Network, there's 70 some odd million, almost 80 million PS4s out there. But whenever we get the numbers about PS Plus accounts, it's always at about 30 million. It's under half of how many PS4s are out there. So that makes me wonder, I want to hear what Game Pass does. If Game Pass, the numbers come out, they're like, oh my gosh, we have 40 million Xbox players signed up for Game Pass. That's going to show you how appealing that is, because if you only got 30, 40 million people signed up for PSN, Sony's got to look at that and be like, man, we're missing 50% unless obviously people have 2 PS4s in their house. I mean, that's always going to come into the thing.
Yep.
If you have 2 PS4s, the same account, you got plus on 2 PS4s. But I'm just saying, I want to know. I want to see these numbers on Game Pass, like in a couple months when these big parties, especially like in March when Sea of Thieves comes out. I want to see how many people sign up for that, because that's going to work hand in hand with Xbox Live for the people who aren't signed up for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point, man. It makes sense to me too that Game Pass probably doesn't require Xbox Live, and if you spend the $10 for that, that eventually leads you into an Xbox Live subscription, which is, we know that's where it's where Xbox, PlayStation, like that's where they make their real money on Xbox Live on PS Plus. So yeah, if this is simply another vehicle to get people into Xbox Live, I think that makes sense.
So really interesting. Like I said, very innovative, bold decision by Microsoft, and it's going to benefit a lot of people. I mean, I sat there and I thought all day, I'm like, where is the negative in this? I couldn't come up with anything. I mean, where's the fine print? I couldn't find any. I mean, it's just simple as that. You sign up for this, all first party games day one. That's just wow. That's an awesome move. So
yeah, like you said, I don't think there's any negatives from a gamer's perspective. It's just we have to see how the future plays out now. Like, how does this change revenue models? How does this affect retailers or whatnot? Like, how does this affect game development? Like, are they going to get the money that they need to get out of this out of the developed game through this service? So it's just going to be how all that stuff plays out in the future.
No, I agree. It'll be interesting. A couple more Xbox stories. First, PUBG over 4 million players now on Xbox One. Wasn't it just like 2 weeks ago we talked about it being at 3 million? Now it's at 4 million.
Yep, it's growing fast.
Yep. Bonafide success. That thing is a juggernaut on Xbox One, and they continue to update that game regularly. They're doing a really good job. Every time a patch comes out, the game's running a little bit better. They're making some quality of life changes that makes the game more accessible on console. They're doing a very good job so far in their frequency at getting out updates and getting that game up to where it needs to be. Still a ways off, but it's definitely improved greatly since launch. So kudos to the developer for getting that done.
Brent, let me ask you this, man. Like how many of these persistent multiplayer, eternally online game, like how many of these games can we support? Like how many of these games can we possibly play? It seems like every time we talk about a game now, every single developer, every single publisher, like they're trying to find the next games as a service game that will be with you for the long haul. And just how many of these games can we possibly play? And I understand this is there's billions and billions of dollars in this industry, and there's millions of people that play games, but it's just like, man, it just seems like after a while, there's only so many gaming hours to go around, and if everybody is trying to make one of these kind of games, like how can we play Destiny and PUBG and The Division and Sea of Thieves and all these games that are always online? And it's just like, who has the time for this, man? How is this going to work?
People without kids and who are under our age, dude. So they got plenty of time to play games, I guess.
It's like eventually we have to reach the point of no return. Like eventually, like we have to reach maximum saturation for these kind of games.
Right.
It has to happen, right?
You would think, my friend. Another interesting story here about PUBG. The developer plans to donate up to $2 million to video game related charities this year. The studio announced earlier this week. The $2 million will be pulled from the sales of PUBG's 2017 Gamescom Invitational crates, which contained exclusive cosmetic items. The news follows PUBG Corp's $100,000 donation to Twitch PUBG Winter Charity Invitational held in December. In 2018, $300,000 will go towards the PUBG Extra Life Charity Marathon, which will be held from January 29th to February 2nd in support of Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Extra Life, now a decade old, is a charity organization that uses gaming marathons to raise funds for sick and injured kids. PUBG Core will also match community donations at a PUBG LAN tournament being held in conjunction with Gamers Outreach at Gamers for Giving 2018 on April 28th and 29th. Gamers Outreach provides equipment and software to help hospitalized children cope with treatment, while Gamers for Giving is a Michigan-based event that raises money for Gamers Outreach. This is lead PUBG community manager Sammy King. Quote, "We've made an impact in the gaming world over the past year, and we're hoping to have an even more of an we're hoping to have even more of an effect on some outstanding charitable organizations in 2018. End quote. I mean, what more can you say other than kudos? I mean, that's awesome that they're doing so much to give back in so many ways. I mean, obviously, PUBG Corp is making a ton of money right now. Okay, they pulled in a lot of money. And instead of just sitting back out, they're doing everything they can to give it out to all sorts of charities and supporting great causes. And that just, I mean, PUBG Corp is just like the beacon of gamer developers right now. They can do no wrong. And that's awesome. I mean, that's really, really cool that they're doing this kind of thing. So good stuff on them. And then lastly, RoboCraft Infinity is coming soon to Xbox One. RoboCraft Infinity allows you to build robots block by block and face off against other players in their own custom build robots in multiplayer deathmatch and battle arena. In RoboCraft Infinity, there is no limit to what you can build and take into battle. As the developer, we've created a block-based system for creating robots inspired by Minecraft. It's possible to build whatever type of robot you want, be it an animal, car, jet, tank, mech, dinosaur, in a top hat, or something inspired by your favorite sci-fi series. So, boys, any thoughts on RoboCraft Infinity? You know, when they talk about building stuff, I just don't have the time, patience for this, but I will be curious to see what kind of stuff people come up with.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. This is something my kids would really, really get into. They love this kind of stuff. They love the Minecrafts, and their favorite part of games is always like creating their characters and building their levels and all that kind of stuff. So that's what this is directed towards. It's directed towards the Minecraft crowd, towards the Roblox crowd, like that. People that really love those games, and you know they'll probably get in there and really love this title. So it looks like it could be cool. I mean, what kid doesn't love like building robots and fighting other robots? Like that just sounds like a winning formula to me.
Yes, it does. Sounds like a good game. So very interesting. But hey, we're going to take a quick break. We've got some music here from Ruel Ethan. We still got some stuff to talk about. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Thanks again to Ruel Ethan for producing the music for this podcast. He does the opening, the closing, the music you heard right there. Follow him on Twitter at Ruel Ethan. Check out his music on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, gentlemen, right back into the news. And first up, God of War 4, boys. We have a release date. It's a little bit later than I thought. I thought for sure this was a March release. But April 20th, God of War will be releasing on PlayStation 4. And alongside the announcement, we got a trailer that was epic. Again, this trailer focused.
Was it epic?
Yeah, it was really epic, and it focused a lot on the stuff that we've been talking about every time we talk about God of War, focusing on who Kratos is, who his son really is. A lot of hints here and there, but this trailer was epic. We know it's coming out April 20th. Talk to me, buddy.
I think God of War is gonna be really special. I just have a really good feeling about this game. Everything we've seen about it. This is gonna be one of those like generation defining games. I think when all is said and done, just yeah. I didn't want to watch the trailer because I don't want to see anything more from God of War. But when Corey was talking about it in his blog post, he was like, "Man, I'm really proud of this trailer. Like, it's awesome." I was like, "Oh, all right, I'm gonna watch it." Yeah, and it's really good. It touches on, you can just see like how much story and care has gone into this game. Like, there's a lot in terms of the mythology and the world that they've built here with this new God of War. The voice acting is superb. Love Christopher Judge as Kratos, man. He's so awesome. It seems like it's just gonna be an exquisite production. I just can't wait to see everything play out. There's so much to mine from the Norse mythology, and like you said, all the hints they're dropping about Atreus and Kratos and even calling back to some of his history with the previous God of Wars. Like that stuff's really, really cool. So there's stuff in there that the fans are just gonna eat up. But yeah, I mean, from everything we've seen in this game, dude, just from the combat to the way, just the craft that's involved in this game, I just feel like this is going to be a really special experience.
You know, watching that trailer, there's more depth to Kratos in that trailer than anything we've seen in any previous God of War game.
By far. I mean, he's a completely different character.
Yeah, completely different character, and I think that's really interesting because, granted, I love God of War games. I didn't mind. I know there's a lot of people that were divisive about Kratos. You know, some people thought he was annoying because all he did was yell. I thought he was awesome because all he did was yell and just beat people up. So I could totally get behind that. Yeah. But adding some depth, I hope we saw he's a very subdued Kratos. What we see in these trailers, I just hope that when it gets to the combat, that he kind of goes back to the Kratos that we all know and love, or that I love, the angry, the pissed off, the just the brutal combat. That's what I want to see. But I love the fact that what we saw in this trailer, we're seeing a more fleshed out Kratos. This is a different voice actor. This doesn't even sound like my man.
No, this is not the same voice actor. It's a new one.
Okay, yeah, because this is just a different Kratos in terms of the performance that we're getting from the voice actor. The production values, way more cutscenes that have some meaning to it. There's a lot of emotion in the characters. Again, this trailer hints at Atreus' origins. Who is he really? And a lot of stuff, like you mentioned, a lot of the fanfare. You got the scene where she's like, "I know you've killed other guys before. I know who you are." And you're just like, "Oh my God, that's awesome." Kratos is trying to play this whole nice, subdued guy, but people know who Kratos is. And I thought that was awesome about this trailer. So I'm hyped, dude. April 20th. I had the 21st off because that's my son's birthday weekend. So I'm thinking about taking that Friday off and just going hard with Kratos and company on Friday, man.
I would have thought you were already taking it off for Labo. So that kind of worked out for you.
Once Bender said he was taking it off, I was like, cool, we got our coverage from Bender on Labo, so we're good.
Yeah. Nah, dude, in terms of like the brutal combat, I don't think there's any question like we're gonna get, like we've seen it in the trailers. We've seen him take down that like beast with the horns or whatever when he was, and that was extremely brutal. We've seen the brutal combat in the trailers. And now coupling that with this really interesting world, these characters, this production, and this is like the antithesis of what we see with what's going on with like Anthem, where it's like EA is like, you have to get this game out the door. Like with Sony, they give their first parties the luxury of, you release this game when it's done. So this game's been in development for a while now, and they are finally ready to bring this game out to the masses. And it looks like it's going to be a polished experience. Can't wait, man. Just think this is going to be a really awesome experience.
Bender, I know you're not much of a God of War fan. Did you even watch the trailer just to see what it was about?
I didn't watch it.
Oh, damn it, Bender. That's okay, buddy. I know.
Buzz Killington over there.
Yeah. He's like, no, really, I'm picking up Labo on the 20th. I'm getting Labo.
I was going to say, I'm taking it off for 420.
Oh, there's a sneak peek, folks.
There's our Bender.
Sneak peek to the real Bender.
Yep. There's our Bender.
But no, dude, I'm hyped, dude. This trailer was epic. It did everything it needed to get me fired up for it. Like you said, I don't need to see any more trailers. We're less than 3 months away. I'm ready for it. Just bring me God of War, man. I'm ready.
I also think 420 is a good date for that too. I feel like it doesn't matter when God of War comes out. Like the spotlight's going to be on that game whenever it decides to release. But coming out in April is nice because we've exited out of the fiscal year. So when we see things like we hear the story about Anthem, like there's other publishers that think the same thing. Like I got to get this game out before the end of the fiscal year. So there's going to be a rush of games in February and in March as people are trying to get these games out before the end of the fiscal year. So after that rush, we come out of that, and we're a couple weeks into April, getting into the spring, and now God of War drops. I think that's a really good time for that game. It's really going to be all by itself there in April in terms of that stature. Like I don't know that anything's going to come out. It's going to be as big as God of War in April, and I think it's just going to shine there, man.
Yeah, because in March, I mean, you've got what, Far Cry 5.
Yeah, there's a few other games that have been pushed back a little bit. Far Cry 5 and
it kind of keeps it separated from its other first. It keeps it separated from Shadow of Colossus. It gives Shadow of Colossus 2 months to kind of sit there and simmer and do what it needs to do in terms of sales, and then 2 months later you got the God is back. So I'm hyped, dude. I don't know. That's pretty much all we have to say. I mean, this trailer's epic. Check it out and get ready, dude. Less than 3 months away, dude.
This could be a preview of the cadence of PS4 releases this year too. So like if Shadow of the Colossus drops in February, God of War drops in April. Like in June, do we see Detroit? In August,
and don't forget, I mean, Detroit said they're saying that thing is spring.
Yeah, so
they came out again and said spring. So I mean, possibly March. I mean, could you squeeze that in March or May?
I don't think so. I think spring officially ends June 21st. Maybe they sneak
that's true.
Maybe they sneak it in the beginning of June. Beginning of June there.
It's possible.
And then
6/20. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we see Detroit in there? Do we see Spider-Man in August or September? Do we see Days Gone in the fall? They keep saying Days Gone's a 2018 game. They've said this several times. I don't believe that right now. I don't believe Days Gone is a 2018 game. That may have been on my most anticipated list, but if they stick to their guns on that, like every couple months this year, we could see a blockbuster PS4 first party or exclusive title hit the platform, and that's going to be exciting for console owners. And man, they almost have to at this point with as many games they got stockpiled. Like, and then we get into Death Stranding and The Last of Us 2 and all these other games, Ghost of Tsushima, like all these other games that are in production and are coming out. You got to start releasing this stuff at some point. So,
exactly.
So, or we're gonna get to the PS5 and we're gonna have all these games that haven't been released. So, man, we could see a cadence of every 2 to 3 months. We're seeing like a big blockbuster PlayStation 4 release. That's huge for console owners, man. They're gonna love that. I'm one of them. So,
I know you are.
Yeah.
We all are. We're really excited for it. So, all right. So we got God of War out of the way. Let's jump into our baby, boys. Let's talk some Destiny 2. We had another Bungie update come out. We got some more information we want to talk about. What's going on with Destiny 2, buddy?
Yeah, so big Destiny 2 update this week. So, as we've talked about over the last few weeks and months, Bungie has made a commitment to be more forthcoming with information about Destiny, be more transparent about where they're going with the game, and keeping people in the loop on this kind of stuff. So we've still seen some stumbles in recent weeks in terms of this, but I had another big post this week outlining big update that's coming to Destiny with the Tuesday update. Don't remember what it is, 1.1.2 or 3 or something like that. But one of the biggest things that's returning on Tuesday is Iron Banner. So we saw some kickback with like the Dawning and what happened with that, and with faction rallies. Specifically with the faction rally recently, there was not any like loot to get. It was very strange, really. There was nothing to really earn from the faction rally, so a lot of people were pissed off about that. So Iron Banner returning this Tuesday. Now they've made some strides to prevent what happened with this past faction rally. So first off, Control will be the mode. So the classic Iron Banner play mode, Control. This will be the first time Saladin returns to the tower in Season 2, of course. There have been some changes to how you'll go about decorating your Guardian with relics of the Iron Lord. So first, we are adding new items to the engrams you will find waiting for you when you visit Lord Saladin. There will There will definitely be Season 2 weapons in the Iron Banner engram, and we will be adding more to the next event. Then they give us a look at some of the stuff that's going to be here. So we see the hand cannon, we see the scout rifle, we see the shotgun, we see the sparrow, the ghost, the emblem. All this stuff actually looks really cool. There's actually a ship as well, which they haven't pictured, which they said you'll just have to discover that one for yourself to see how that looks. So really curious to see that ship. If you are missing items from the last season, they will still drop as possible rewards from the engram. So that's awesome. There's also a new emblem that tracks how many lifetime rank ups for Iron Banner you have earned in Destiny 2. You can earn that by completing the Iron Banner milestone. So in Season 1 of the Iron Banner, there was an emblem that you could earn. So it sounds like in Season 2, there'll be another milestone you can complete and get the new Iron Banner emblem. So that's cool. We've received a lot of feedback from previous Iron Banner events that players preferred a way to directly acquire items. We have added the ability to obtain armor and 3 different weapons from Lord Saladin during each event. Here's what he has to offer next week. And they show us a picture of what he's going to offer. So he's got the 3 new guns. Everything looks new in terms of what they have on here. Like it's got the Curse of Osiris emblem on it. So it seems like these are all newer items. And then the final way to earn rewards is by completing challenges. So ornaments are available for all your Iron Banner gear, and you can unlock them by completing various objectives for Lord Saladin. So we see a picture of the Season 2 ornaments here. The Iron Banner gear looks awesome, man. Would love to get a set of this from our Warlock. Looks pretty snazzy. There's no limits to how many engrams you can acquire, how many tokens you can earn. So another pitchforks and blowtorch moment was in faction rallies when they limited how many tokens you could get. Man, people were not happy about that. So they have made it clear here that will not be the case with Iron Banner. Get as much playtime as you can during the week. It will always move you closer to opening another engram, earning an ornament, or purchasing a piece of gear from Lord Saladin. Go nuts. So, sounds to me like they've taken some of the feedback from the faction rally. They've implemented it as much as they can here with Iron Banner. There's definitely going to be a lot more stuff to earn with Iron Banner. So that's cool. There'll actually be a reason to get in there and play through this and try and earn some of this stuff. So hopefully these guns are good. They look cool. I just hopefully the stats are worth it on them. The Iron Banner guns from last season, I don't know. Haven't seen too much playtime out of those. Didn't really get anything that was noteworthy. But in Destiny 1, the Iron Banner weapons were incredible. So I would like to see them get back to that, where these are like the top tier weapons in the game. So maybe we'll see. Still no word on power levels though, Brett, being factored in. I sent the request in though to Christopher Barrett. He was soliciting Iron Banner, what else people wanted to see. So I put it out there like, hey, we want to see those power levels return. I know there's people that want to see that. I know there's people that want to see power levels return to the Trials of the Nine as well. So we'll have to see how all that plays out there. But what do you think, man? What do you think about Iron Banner? You ready to hop back in there?
I'll be ready to go, dude. I'm going to clear my schedule for Wednesday night, get in there, do some Iron Banner, hopefully Friday night as well. I'm ready to get back into Iron Banner, dude. I'm glad they made some changes to it. God, hearing how they had the faction rally stuff, I didn't get a chance to get in and do the faction rally this week. When they make these decisions right now, are they just like, do they have like a dartboard? They're not even looking. They're just like, dude, just try this.
Yeah.
And like, oh, cool. Yeah, we'll limit the engram or the tokens. Cool. Let's run with it. It's just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing over there, you guys?
There was an exploit in the previous faction rally where you could continuously open like a lost sector chests like over and over and over, and people were getting like 500 tokens an hour with this method. So they tried to scale that back, but in doing that, they scaled it a little bit too far back, and it didn't work the way that it was intended. So yeah, so some missteps with the faction rally. Hopefully they've learned from that. Bendy, you ready to impress Lord Saladin with your wares once again?
Yeah. I'll try jumping in there again. And do we know what he's gonna have for sale, or what sort of rewards he's gonna be giving out? Because that can kind of motivate me if he's got some good stuff,
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, we see the pictures of him here. I don't know the stats on these though. There's a hand cannon, there's a scout rifle, there's a shotgun. There's also a very cool looking ghost shell and sparrow to go along with an emblem. There's also ornaments you can earn for your Iron Banner gear through through playing the Iron Banner, and you'll also still be able to obtain Season 1 rewards from the Iron Banner that you weren't able to get in these engrams and as well. So
Cool.
should be quite a few things that you'll have access to on there.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So definitely need to hop back in there. So that's the first part of Tuesday's update. Now, Masterwork Armor. We've talked about this. This is coming in Tuesday's update as well. So many of you have been discovering Masterwork weapons and adding them to your collection. Next week, we are adding Armor Masterworks to the mix. All legendary armor now has a chance to drop as a Masterwork. The same rules apply with the weapons. You'll have a higher chance of getting Armor Masterwork from Trials of the Nine and raid activities, but you might get lucky with an engram from Lord Shaxx or any other vendor who offers engrams. Please note, all raid Masterworks must be earned from raid drops and can't be obtained from engrams or vendors in the tower. So I just want to make that clear, obviously. So the benefits of Masterwork Armor. Each armor piece grants 3% damage resistance while using a super. This stacks for a 15% damage reduction if you have a full set of Masterwork Armor. So we were curious about that before, if all the pieces were going to stack. We assumed it would. It has been confirmed that all those will stack if you have a full set. Masterworks Armor can be reworked to a different stat package, Heavy, Light, or Restorative, for 1 Masterwork Core and 10 Legendary Shards. You can now rework stats on your armor. The results will be stat packages that are found on other pieces. There is a UI bug right now, however, just so everybody's aware, where if you try to quickly rework armor sets, it will appear to rework to the same stats. It doesn't actually perform the rework function or use your materials, but it can be quite scary, so we just wanted to give you a heads up. So just be on the lookout for that. If for some reason you're doing stuff really quick and you don't see something show up on there, fear not. It's just a UI bug. This is just the first version of Armor Masterworks. We are planning to continue updating the system and adding additional benefits. As always, if you have any feedback, please let us know. Happy hunting. So Brent, your thoughts on Masterwork Armor? Is this a good enough buff for you to be interested in this, or do we still need to get in here and tweak the armor system a little bit more to make it a little more customizable?
I think this is a good step in the right direction. This
Yeah.
is good. Anytime you can change, you can change the stats of your stuff, or you can make something unique, and you have to grind to get the whatever you need to make it unique to what you want it to be. That's appealing to me. That's stuff. I want reasons to keep playing stuff. Yes, I wish there was more stuff to do, but at the same time, I just want to be. I want a reason to go play stuff. And Masterworks is, and whether it's for armor or for weapons, is a step in the right direction. Obviously, would I like to see more? Absolutely. Who wouldn't want to see more? But you're giving us a reason to grind, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Bender, what are your thoughts on what you're hearing from the Masterworks here? So being able to rework stats, that 15% buff to the damage reduction when using your super, is that a good enough benefit to goad you into trying to find this stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I'd say that sounds like some good perks.
As a warlock, like hell yeah, we need that need that damage reduction.
Yeah, we need that. We really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds awesome. So hopefully I'll be able to find some of those.
Yeah, I need a full set ASAP so I can be a Stormcaller once again, because I've just all but abandoned Stormcaller at this point, because every time I activate it, I just get annihilated. So,
Oh, you poor things.
You stop it. I know we don't all have a cool sidestep like you, but
You
hey,
don't,
yeah.
and you're jelly because of it. I understand.
Yeah, I'll drop a health pool or augment everybody's weapons while you're dancing around the corner over there. So.
Can't see me.
Yeah.
Can't see me.
All right. So the next part of this update, raids. All right. This is something we still got to get into. So so we need to make this happen. So I need you guys to put this at the forefront of your mind. But we need to get in here and do this damn raid. All right. I'm getting antsy. I'm getting antsy about this. There's a raid and a raid lair that has not been conquered by us yet, and from everything I've heard, man, it sounds like they're pretty fun, especially this raid lair. Sounds like it's a lot of fun. People really like this, so definitely want to get in here and do this soon. And it sounds like now is as good a time as any to get in here, because we're seeing a refresh on raid rewards. So this is exciting stuff here. So raiding is one of Destiny 2's ultimate endgame experiences. I'm going to change that. Raiding is the ultimate Destiny 2 endgame experience. So far, you have explored the mysteries of the Leviathan and dove even deeper into its first lair, the Eater of Worlds. We've received feedback that, while the experiences were epic, the rewards could use some more love. we invited senior designer Daniel Oshimpaw, hopefully I said that right, to tell you more about what we're changing with rewards starting with next week's raids. So this is Daniel. So with the upcoming January patch, we're making a number of changes to the way raid rewards work. We've been hearing that the current system doesn't feel exciting when you kill bosses, that tokens aren't interesting enough, and that you want more deep chase items to hunt down. This is our first swing at tackling some of those. We hope you'll jump in and play these changes a bit, and then let us know how you feel. For now, let's dive into the changes and talk a bit about our goals, and thinking with them. So, raid armor now with raid perks. This is something that people have been clamoring for. So, it's unfathomable, really, to me to think that the raid armor in Destiny 2 didn't have any perks with it. It didn't have any raid perks. This is just such a strange omission. So, raid armor now drops with perks that function on the Leviathan. Yes. These appear on mods that are selectable on both new drops and existing raid armor pieces that you may already have in your inventory. Additionally, these mods are usable. So if you swap to another one, these will always be in the list to swap back on your raid armor for the low price of 1 Callus token. Since no one wants to take a -5 power penalty if they remove their legendary mods while in the raid, all the raid mods are legendary by default, obviously. This should also be extra icing on the cake for players who can't seem to get that last mod they need to max their gear out. The goal for these perks was to elevate the power of Guardians in the raid, and we aimed to build things that were useful in every encounter. So that was one of the things we saw in Destiny 1. So we saw perks on the raid armor that were very specific to certain things in the game, like with the touch of malice and with the drop in the ogres in the Oryx raid. So they're taking a little bit of a different approach with the stuff here. They're making it more universal. So as a result, we avoided things that relied on specific mechanics to be useful and moved to broadly useful perks like recharge your grenade when you activate your super and deal 20% extra damage after getting a melee kill, as opposed to things tied to specific mechanics. It's like they have an example of Emperor's Blaze in here. While on the Leviathan, your solar abilities deal 25% more damage. So they're adding stuff like this into the armor, stuff that's useful in all of the raid encounters. Double drops. So clearing prestige now gives you prestige and normal drops. If you have the prowess to clear prestige, then you've proven yourself enough that we don't need to force you to go back and do normal as well. Raid encounters always drop a raid piece. So we didn't want players to have that dead encounter feeling anymore, where they had where they had already received all the rewards for that encounter and were just waiting on a later encounter. Or even worse, the disappointing feeling where no one in your raid group gets something, which could happen under rare circumstances in the old system. So we've unified the drop tables for the encounters so that raid gear isn't tied to specific encounters anymore. So no matter what encounter you clear, you can get raid loot. Oh, and every encounter has a chance to drop an exotic. Not an engram that you have to take back to Raoul for decryption, but an item that you could equip and start using immediately if you want to.
Wow.
So, the list of possible exotic drops is comprised of all non-quest exotics with armor and weapons weighted equally. So that's awesome. Raid vendors will sell a rotating selection of gear every week, so you have that to look forward to. And then there's this new item, the exotic raid ghost contender shell, which looks awesome. So while not quite the grind level of the legendary Nano Phoenix, we feel like we needed to add a chase item to the raid pool to make coming back still have reward potential each week. So enter the contender shell. This ghost can drop from the final encounter in either the Leviathan or Eater of Worlds. We also included some bad luck protection to avoid the previously mentioned Nano Phoenix problem, so that dedicated raiders can rest assured that they'll get their hands on it eventually, even if it takes several weeks. The contender shell comes with some brand new perks that we're hoping helps reward players that keep clearing the raid even after they've gotten their ghost. So, both active only on the Leviathan and its lair, they aim to make the Leviathan encounter reward stay awesome. So first, they got Seeker of Brilliance, which enables the chance for encounters to drop bright engrams from their loot pools. Every time one doesn't drop a bright engram, we increase the chance for the next. Remember those exotics that can drop from encounters I was talking about earlier? Well, Seeker of Opulence means those exotics have a 50% chance to pull from a list of exotics you haven't collected yet, instead of the standard list.
Wow.
Lastly, to top all of this off, we threw on Seeker of Glory, which provides a tracker for the number of encounters you have defeated on the Leviathan. Nice. So, pretty cool stuff that they're adding to the raid there. Also, with this update, they're increasing the damage on Prometheus lens once again, so getting back to an acceptable level, not overpowered like it was before, but buffing that up. There's a few other various patch notes and things in here as well. But exciting to hear that they're returning this stuff to the raid. What do you think, Brent? So we haven't got in there, we haven't finished the raid yet, but good to know that when we get back in there, we're gonna be able to find some stuff that has a little more meaning than it did before.
Right. No, like I said, everything you mentioned here is great. You know, I've actually been away from Destiny 2 for a little while, not because I don't like Destiny 2. I love Destiny 2. I think it's a great idea. I think it can be really, really great. I'm just waiting, kind of like, you know, based on the feedback I've been hearing from people and listening to the community. Not so much the toxic people, but like the true people that really want Destiny 2 to succeed, that are reasonable about it when they talk about it. I'm waiting for Destiny 2 or Bungie to kind of get this thing back to where it needs to be, or at least closer to what we all want it to be. But with the Iron Banner returning, and you know, and this raid stuff, this raid gear, and all the stuff that they're adding here, I'm ready to jump back into Destiny 2 and start getting my time in with it again with you guys, and do what we need to do. Yes, we need to get in there and do the raid. Yes, we need to set that up. I want some of this raid gear. I want all these perks. I like that they're adding that back in there with the raid perks. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I do kind of miss the specific situations because that means you were getting more unique, like, looking items. You know, when you got something that had a specific perk, you know, it was, you knew what you know, like, hey, I got to wear this chest piece because this is the chest piece that helps me, you know, run through this against Atheon or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, by going to a more, I don't want to say generic, but more generalized one, I mean, I think that kind of takes away a little bit from it, but at least they're adding them back in. I dig that. But I do like the specific ones a little bit more. I think those are a little bit more appealing to me. But, you know, hey, if it makes my solar damage much more, you know, 25% better in all raid situations, I'm cool with that. But no, I'm ready to jump back into this with you guys, and I'll be ready to go Wednesday night.
Yeah, I do like the specific encounter stuff too. Like, there was some cool stuff on some of those pieces of armor. So we'll have to see how these new perks play out. But yeah, having a 25% damage buff on your solar items sounds pretty damn good to me. So
yeah, I'll take it.
So we'll take that. Bender, what do you think, man? What do you think about everything that we've heard here? Is Bungie moving in the right direction here with what we want out of Destiny 2?
Yeah, I think they are. I like that they're adding some significant rewards to the raid, things I will actually want to chase after. Some of those perks, like on that ghost, sound awesome.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's something that I definitely want to try to get. But yeah, it's really cool. I really wish we could get back into the raid and actually finish it and all that, because it's the raids are always the best part, and we've only seen a little bit of the raid so far. So yeah, we need to work our guys up and get back in there and see if we can get it done.
Yeah, we definitely need to get a squad together and get in there and tackle this thing finally. Yeah, because not only haven't we done the raid, we haven't done the raid layer either, which, like I said, some people are saying is even better than the raid. So, so yeah, there's some good content out there that we've yet to even experience yet, which is crazy as much as we play this game. Yeah, and they're also Bungie's committed to working on the shader issue as well. So we don't have any final determination on that yet, but you know, they understand the problems with not being able to mass delete some of these shaders and all that kind of stuff. So there will be some resolution to the shader in the future. Sounds like they want to try and maybe move it more towards it was in Destiny 1. Maybe giving us like a shader vendor or whatever that we can go back and see all the shaders that we had. But they still want to keep some of the customization options that this new system allows, where you can change the color of your gun and you can customize each individual part of your Guardian. So we'll see what becomes of that. But that's kind of still a work in progress. So so all that stuff sounds good, which leads me to the last part of this story. And there's a report that came out of Wall Street this week. So Activision's Destiny 2 is struggling as gamers are unhappy over microtransactions. So this is an interesting story that showed up on CNBC of all places. So player, because like I said, this is from a Wall Street analyst. So player interest in Activision's in Activision Blizzard's Destiny 2 is dropping, which will hurt the game publisher's add-on revenue this year, one Wall Street firm predicts. Cowen, which is the firm, reiterated its market performance rating on Activision Blizzard shares, citing increasing evidence players are leaving the Destiny community. Quote, while Call of Duty World War II clearly had a great holiday, which likely sets up strong franchise live services revenue in 2018, Destiny 2 is struggling right now with player engagement appearing to be on the wane. Analyst Doug Kreutz wrote in a note to clients Tuesday entitled, Destiny is not in a good place. We are a bit cautious that potentially disappointing live service revenue could at least partially offset upside from Call of Duty in 2018, he said. And then he talks a little bit about the stock in Activision Blizzard. He said several key Destiny video streamers have announced they will reduce content for the game in the future. He noted Twitch viewership for the game is at franchise low levels, averaging 4,000 to 7,000 viewers on Friday afternoons versus 14,000 to 17,000 for Destiny 1 year ago. He also shared these 4 reasons for why he believes the game is faltering. Design decisions were made that have made D2 a less engaging and less distinctive game than D1. In particular, key aspects of the D2 endgame feel neutered compared to D1, so something we've talked about before. Microtransaction implementation, while not nearly as problematic as Battlefront 2, has still been a source of player unhappiness. 3, Bungie's apparent urgency in responding to player feedback has been disappointing, so something that they've been working on. And 4, until recently, Bungie did a poor job communicating its roadmap going forward, particularly compared to the more open stance of many other live service games. So it's all stuff we've talked about before, all stuff that they're looking to work on and that they are currently working on. As a result, the analyst is not optimistic the company will be able to turn the Destiny franchise around. We do think Bungie still has some opportunity to fix the game's problems over the next year and recapture engagement, but we're not sure they have the ability to pull it off at this point. We also note that Destiny currently has more serious competition in its genre from a refurbished Division in indie title Warframe than it did 3 years ago when Destiny 1 had its own share of player dissatisfaction. So that's the end of that article. I want to get your thoughts on this, Brent. What do you think about all this, man? So we got analysts and viewers and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, do you really think that Destiny is beyond the point of no return, for lack of a better word?
I don't.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah. Do you feel like it's something that they can't turn around?
I don't think it's the point of no return. I do think it's a steeper climb this time around because, as we talked about earlier, with Destiny 1, the hardcore is what kept it going. Mm-hmm. This time around, the hardcore are the ones that feel like they've been abandoned. They've been forgotten. They feel like they've been left behind. They're not getting what they want. So it's a little bit harder to win back, the hardcore when they're the ones that they felt you've wronged. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this is a tougher climb. I don't think it's over, not by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, no. Destiny, people, a lot of people are pissed about this, but it comes from a place of passion, their love for the game. Okay, it's like us with the Lions. We get so pissed off, we get angry, but at the same time, there are Lions. We watch them every Sunday. It doesn't matter how mad we get, we still watch them. And that's where we're Destiny fans. I mean, yes, there are going to be some who are going to overreact, and they want to, and they prefer to see it fall apart because they feel so wrong. But no, I don't think it's over. I just think it's going to be a tougher climb. They have to do a lot to win back the hardcore, to win their respect back and to give them what they want. But I don't think it's over. But I think it's going to be a tougher climb this time around.
And I think the reality of it is this, man. Like I've said this before, but it's hard to find a shooter that plays any better than Destiny on consoles. Mm-hmm. And after a while, like, you may step away from the game, you may play some other games, and you may be mad at Bungie for this or for that. But the reality is, at some point, like, you're gonna think to yourself, man, I miss Destiny. Like, I want to go back and play that game because that game has a feel that no other game has. That game offers a gameplay experience that no other game has. So we're still only a few months into the life of Destiny 2 here when it's all said and done. So if somebody were to step away for a few weeks or a couple months or whatever it is, eventually they're going to get that itch to come back. And when they do, there's going to be a lot of stuff that Bungie has changed from feedback and whatnot. This is a constantly evolving game, just like Destiny 1 was. So I I think this is kind of maybe the ebb and flow of the game. Maybe it's ebbing a little bit too much right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Mm-hmm.
and they're losing too many people. But eventually, I think they're going to get this worked out. People are going to come back around. It's definitely not irreversible or anything like that. This game is still sold just an inordinate amount of copies. There's
Mm-hmm.
millions and millions of Destiny 2 copies out there, and people, and a lot of those are digital, so a lot of those aren't going anywhere. They're sitting right on your system there. So so yeah, there's still the audience is still out there. It just has to be recaptured. And like I said, the gameplay's still there. We still enjoy going in there and playing the game. That's not going to change. They just need to work on some of the things that we've been talking about. Bender, let me ask you this, all right? I feel like the more and more I think about this, like, are we just getting to a point where this fall, when presumably we're gonna see like a big Destiny expansion, something along the lines of the Taken King, like this fall, are we just gonna see some expansion that comes out and basically just makes this game like Destiny 1 again? Are we just gonna see is Bungie just gonna be like, all right, we're just gonna have to kind of admit that what we tried to do with Destiny 2 didn't work for our fans? Like, let's go back, let's change the weapon system back to the way it was. Let's make 6v6 like the primary form of competition in the Crucible. Like, let's make random rolls a thing on guns again. Like, this is all the stuff that people want. It's all the things they figured out before, which is what makes this so interesting. So it's all the stuff that they already figured out with Destiny 1, and they tried a shot at something different with Destiny 2. And while initially it was a huge success, and really the only people we're talking about right now are the hardcore Destiny fans. If you were to go to talk to a casual Destiny 2 fan, they'd play, yeah, the game's great, man. I love it. I had a lot of fun with it. I played it. I put 50 hours into it, had fun with my friends, did everything there was to it. Then I moved on to another game, and I had a great time with it. So those people are still happy about Destiny 2. It's the hardcore. It's the people that sustain this always online game. Those are the people that we're talking about here. So I don't know. Are we getting to the point where in this big fall update that we presume is coming, is this just going to look like Destiny 1 again? That's what I feel like we're getting at.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think they have to go all the way and change everything back to the way it was in Destiny 1, but I could see them making some changes and putting some things back the way they were. But yeah, it is kind of crazy to think about how they had everything right. They seem to have everything right by the end of Destiny 2's or Destiny 1's lifespan, and then they just changed everything in Destiny 2 and just didn't really work out. So I guess that's a possibility, but I don't think they have to change everything back. They just have to make some corrections, and as long as it has some good content and stuff, I'll be there for whatever expansion they come out with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be there as well because, like I said, I love the gameplay of Destiny. I don't know, Brent. Like, every time I see somebody comment on Destiny, they're just asking for the things that we had in Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I just feel like we're moving towards that. Like, when I see them talk about the shaders, and they're like, yeah, we need to make the shaders more like they were in Destiny 1. Anytime they bring up anything about the game, it's just like somebody is chiming in with the stuff that they want from Destiny 1. It's I don't know, man. Just feel like we might be working towards that.
I mean, I don't want to go back to 1-to-1 with Destiny 1, but if they want to be inspired by the things that worked in Destiny 1, that's cool. You can make those kind of like, small changes here and there. But look, this goes back to the thing that we deal with all the time. People's you release a game, oh, it's too much like the first one. And then if people make changes to it, they're like, oh, this is terrible. You guys blew it. It's just like, you can't win.
Yeah.
So, you got to give and take a little bit. Be inspired by Destiny 1, the stuff that did work, the stuff that people enjoyed, and implement that somehow. Get rid of some of the stuff that people aren't happy about. Clean up the Eververse a little bit, and just move on from there. You're not going to please everyone 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the hardcore. Bring back some stuff from Destiny 1. Not everything. Just give the stuff that people really want, that makes sense, that just clearly is better than what you've tried implementing in Destiny 2, but then continue to innovate and try to do new stuff. Yes, but I don't want to go back to Destiny 1, 1-to-1 with it. Not at all.
Yeah. Just in terms of the end game, like, there are some things that we need to bring back from Destiny 1. I think now that we're 4 months into this now, Like we need random rolls back on the guns. Like we need to
Mhm.
have like that carrot on the end of the stick that's dangling in front of us. Like we need to bring like the quest system back. We need to bring the like special quests that would pop up, things like the Black Spindle quest or the
Mhm.
Sleeper Simulant, like these like special events that would come up that people would get into and go and search for. Like there has to be that kind of stuff in the game because they created these big beautiful like open world areas for people to go around and look for stuff, but there's nothing that's worth finding. That's the problem with it, you know. You got all these lost
Yeah.
sectors and you get things all over the map, but none of them reward you with anything that's worth a damn. So it's
Yeah.
like,
And see, they and I feel like, man, the lost sectors. I feel like they kind of missed the boat on that one. I feel like that one's off the mark because
yeah,
the lost sectors aren't lost. There's icons on the map.
hmm
You know, if they would have removed the icons from the map, I think that would have made it at least somewhat better. But because you pull up the map, there's the icons. I mean, like you said, they make these big, beautiful areas to explore, but they take the fun. Dude, part of that making big areas is to explore them and find these things.
hmm
Not say, hey, look, here's your map. Now go find that big symbol on the wall, and there's your lost sector.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want to explore. I want to stumble into some little nook and cranny and find an entrance into this area where there's this huge boss waiting for me that no one else has found yet. I want that. That's the thrill of exploration. But when you open up the map and you see the lost sector icons everywhere, that defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
I want to find stuff. That's the point of exploring these big, beautiful worlds. Yes, they're big, but there's nothing exciting about searching throughout for them, you know?
Yeah, and it's a huge problem for me. It's why I haven't like completed all the adventures or all the stuff on these maps is because there's no reward for them. And
Right.
I do want to go in and do the adventures just for the story because there's some cool stuff in there that you learn
Mhm.
about the lore of the world. But it's just like when you get to the end of it and you get a token and like that's your reward, and you're like, okay,
Mhm.
a token and a blue gun that you're gonna shard. It's like that's it's not exciting. So it's just like they got to give us something to look for, something to look forward to.
Mhm.
It's just it's crazy that's not there. And yeah, I think that the whole thing with the lost sectors that really just goes back to the design philosophy of Destiny 2, and that it was catered to the more casual audience as opposed to the hardcore audience. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of just kind of stuff given to you in Destiny 2. There's not a lot of grind. I mean, there is grind, but it's nothing like Destiny 1. You know,
Mhm.
you don't have to grind for like the best stuff in the game like you had to in Destiny 1. So
Mhm.
just kind of part of the design philosophy, I think.
Right. No, I agree with you 100% on that, dude. That's your Destiny 2 news. We'll be in there this week doing the Iron Banner. Get back into that, and I want that shotgun, so I'm gonna work for the shotgun, and I want some of that I want some of the Iron Banner gear. That Iron Banner gear looks pretty sweet. So,
Yeah.
all right, moving on from that, we got a couple of things we want to talk about before we wrap things up. But first up, boys, Dead Cells is coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch later this year. This is a game you were really excited about, really kind of admiring from afar on PC.
hmm
A post went up this week on both PlayStation blog and on Xbox website. Sebastian Bernard, lead developer at Motion Twid, had kind of give you an idea of what to expect. And this is what he had to say. Quote, at first glance, Dead Cells looks a lot like Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Voices sold. Wrapped in a roguelite, stuffed in a Souls-light, and cooked in sweet pixel art sauce with permadeath, randomness, and challenging combat at the core of the experience. However, I feel like this mashup doesn't entirely convey what we're trying to achieve with Dead Cells. What we're trying to do is empower the player right from the get-go. Dead Cells is designed to be a challenging experience. You won't be breezing through the game on your first go unless you've got some outrageous Jedi-like reflexes. But difficulty for difficulty's sake makes no sense, so each challenge should feel tough but not insurmountable. Boys, what is appealing to you, or what about Dead Cells is appealing to you? Why are you excited for this baby to come to consoles?
I've just heard some great things about this game, man. The people that have been playing it in early access have had a lot of fun with it. Have spoken very highly of it. And I love the idea of a roguelike Metroidvania, especially after playing something like Sundered. You know,
Mhm.
playing through that game and seeing how that game played out. I just from what it sounds like, this is aiming to be a very polished like 2D action experience, and I love
Hmm.
those kind of games. Like the combat, when you watch the trailers for it, looks fast, looks fluid. I love the kind of dodging around and kind of the Souls like combat in a 2-dimensional setting. Sundered had that kind of vibe as well, where you're
Hmm.
dodging and it's kind of how you attack and dodge and take advantage of openings on your enemies. Like that's how you fought enemies in that game, and that sounds like that's how it's going to be with Dead Cells here. So
Hmm.
I love the style of the game, love the look of it, love the idea of it, of a Metroidvania game that has some of these roguelike elements and upgrading your character. I love these kind of games. So I can't wait to play Dead Cells, man. Really really excited that this is coming to consoles. Pumped.
Hmm. I know you are. Yeah, boys. I share your excitement. I watched the trailer. This game looks awesome. I know there's it's been praised just through the roof on Steam Early Access.
Hmm.
One thing about that, Dead Cells will launch on consoles day and date with its 1.0 debut on PC as the game exits Early Access on Steam. The Metroidvania action platformer will also receive content updates on Switch alongside updates to the PC build. So as soon as this thing comes out on all consoles, it's going to go to its 1.0 debut on PC. So day and date, this thing is coming out everywhere in basically its full retail version. So
Nice.
really excited for this. We don't have a date or a window or anything like that, correct, boys?
Nothing yet. Yeah. I assume we're getting pretty close. Don't know though.
Mm-hmm.
This will definitely be featured on the Indie Spotlight when it comes out. So
Oh
getting there.
boy.
You put
Well,
that in the
there you go.
bank.
Now you know. Awesome. Moving along, Uncharted director and Dead Space producers joined the Avengers project team among 13 other like industry professionals that are from like Monolith. Where else do they come from? Sledgehammer Games. But the two that we're talking about here, former Uncharted director Sean
Escague.
Skag.
Yeah.
Skag. We actually talked about this a couple weeks ago. Sean Skag had left
Hmm.
Naughty Dog, and here's where he's at. He's heading over to Square Enix to work on the Avengers project, along with Dead Space producer Stephen Barry. And Skag joins the team as creative director, while Barry will serve as director of production. Skag is the creative director and writer of Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. He worked on The Last of Us as the director of photography and animation supervisor. He was also an animator at Industrial Light and Magic. Here's what he had to say. I'm thrilled to join Crystal as creative director and be aligned with a team as passionate about telling great character-based stories as I am. Barry held several positions at Electronic Arts, with his latest role at the company being the director of product development at Visceral Games. And here's what he had to say. Crystals has been around almost as long as I have been in the business. The immediate chemistry and camaraderie has been exactly what I had hoped for, end quote. So again, many top industry veterans are lining up to join Crystal Dynamics to work on this Avengers project. Boys, when you see people like Sean and Steven joining on board to create this Avengers project, where does your hype level at, dude?
Dude, it's really high. Obviously it's exciting to see a project that you're jacked for, just bringing in top talent so that they can make the best possible game that they can make. But yeah, just to see some of these people that are going to be involved with this, to know that Crystal Dynamics, who is a fabulous studio in and of itself, to see them expanding with this new talent to work on the Avengers project, just something
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to play this game, man. Just this new focus on making awesome like Marvel video games is like, I feel like a kid in a candy store. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to see this type of talent coming in, man, is really really exciting, and I cannot wait to see what the Avengers project eventually becomes. From when we were initially talking about it, it sounded like maybe it sounds like for sure it's going to be a third person action adventure game. There's no question
Mm-hmm.
about that, but sounds like there may be some Destiny elements with this as well, possibly. But man, if I can like Avengers assemble with other people and go out and fight supervillains, man, I'm so there. It's not even funny.
Bender, I know you're a big fan of obviously Marvel and the Avengers. And we all seen what Crystal Dynamics is able to do. I mean, they've taken the Tomb Raider franchise to all new levels. They're masterful at telling stories and creating lots of good action. When you see Crystal Dynamics is adding people from Uncharted and from Dead Space, I mean, obviously very popular third-person franchises. Where are you at, man, with the Avengers project?
Man, it's sounding better and better. It just sounds awesome. Sounds like they're getting some really good talent involved with this game, and man, I can't wait to see what it's going to be like and what sort of game it's going to be and all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm getting super excited about that one.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be. I can't wait till we actually see the first reveal for this game and what it's going to be and what it's all going to entail. That's going to be a massive E3 moment, and I can't wait till we see it, dude. It's going to be exciting. So good stuff,
man. We are gonna have a top-notch Spider-Man game from Insomniac, and this could be followed up with a top-notch Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics. That's awesome.
Yeah, Marvel has picked just the best of the best with their properties, and we've seen Spider-Man in action. We know what to expect from that. And now you got this Avengers project just looming in the distance on the horizon. And my gosh, it's exciting times for Marvel, man. Like I said, they've tapped the finest, the best of the best. And I can't wait to see when they finally reveal what this is going to be.
Yeah, I love it, man.
And one other thing I wanted to talk about, boys, I've been a huge fan of Rainbow Six Siege. It's been great to see this game kind of bounce back and be the juggernaut success that it is. It's done. I feel like it's done DLC the right way. It's done microtransactions the right way. Everything is cosmetic. Nothing is game breaks game balance or anything like that. They have done a fantastic job with Rainbow Six. I mean, you talk about all these other games where people are pissed about microtransactions. I have never once heard anyone talk bad about Rainbow Six Siege microtransactions because that community understands. Hey, look, it's microtransactions. We can buy them if we want to. It's all cosmetic. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. But man, everywhere else, microtransactions are just the devil. I never hear anybody from this community bitch about the microtransactions, and it's a big community.
Yeah.
But a strange decision by Ubisoft.
You might hear some people bitching about this.
Yeah, there'll be some people bitching about this. Effective February 13th, 2018, Siege's $40 Standard Edition will be replaced by a $60 Advanced Edition. They announced that earlier this week. The Advanced Edition comes with everything in the Standard Edition, but tacks on 600 Rainbow Six credits and 10 Outbreak collection packs, which contain cosmetics from the upcoming Outbreak event. Now, I believe these Outbreak collection packs cost $5.
That's true.
Or at least, yeah. So, tack $5 on, but I don't know about the 600 Rainbow Six credits. I don't know how much those cost because I never buy them. But the gold
300 credits are $5. It looks like.
So that's $15. So an extra $5. Where's that going?
Well, it says 10 Outbreak collection packs. An Outbreak pack by itself, it looks like, can be purchased for 300 credits.
Okay. So do the math and.
Yeah, so you're getting 10 of them instead of 2 of them or whatever.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I guess that's where the price hike comes from. But
I guess.
The gold edition, meanwhile, will jump from $70 to $90. It contains all content from the advanced edition plus the year 3 content season pass. So I guess that's not too terrible.
Yeah, and that's just the year 3. So you don't.
That doesn't include.
You don't get year 1 and year 2 at that. So just keep that in mind.
This is true as well. But I think the season pass is what, $24.99? I think it is.
Is it $24.99 per season?
I believe I bought the season 3 pass recently. I want to say it was either $19.99 or $24.99.
Okay.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, and then finally, the $110 complete edition will jump to $130. It contains all content from the gold edition plus 16 bonus operators from the year 1 and year 2 content packs. Ubisoft clarified the gold edition shift in a tweet stating, "People who purchase the year 2 complete edition will get what was listed at the time of the purchase, which doesn't include the 600 bonus credits, the 10 outbreak packs, or the Year 3 Season Pass. Whoa. And then lastly, the $15 PC-only Standard Edition remains unchanged, but retains the significant drawback of pricier operatives. And they are pricey, even though I think they cut it in half recently. But normally, normally new operators cost 2,000 renown. This is using Siege's in-game currency. However, if you purchase the Standard Edition, new operatives will cost you 12,500 renown, making it considerably more time-consuming to expand your roster without spending more real money. I believe before it was 25,000 at launch. Wow. Yeah, you had to do a lot of grinding if you wanted to unlock the operators. So, but yeah, just a strange thing to see them raise the prices on this. But I mean, even with they're packing a lot of stuff in there, and I don't know if it's worth shelling out more. But I mean, also this game is what, 3 years old now?
Yeah, that's one of the weirdest parts. Yeah, this game is 3 years old, and they're raising the price on it. But they're raising the price on it and essentially giving you. They're basically forcing you to buy microtransaction items, so to speak. Mm-hmm. They're raising the price, and then they're giving you Rainbow Six credits and Outbreak collection packs, which are things you would purchase as like a microtransaction in the game. Mm-hmm. It's very strange that they would raise the price of the game and then force you to spend more money just to get this extra stuff that most people probably aren't even going to want. I don't get that. I don't get that. Like, what is the purpose of that?
Yeah, that is really strange. You know, like we mentioned, this is a game that's 3 years old. You know, and you're bumping the price up by basically saying, instead of giving you the option to buy microtransactions, you're saying you're gonna buy the microtransactions to get this game.
Yeah,
that's basically what it's kind of like. You mentioned, it's forcing the microtransactions. So they spend the last 3 years doing microtransactions the right way, and then 3 years later, they're like, okay, now we're gonna screw you. Yeah, it's a very strange decision, but you know, Ubisoft is Ubisoft is one of those companies where like they've gone a long stretch now where they've done a lot of good things. Maybe it's just one of those moments where they're like, hey, let's try this. You know, we're I mean, the Division's doing really well. Ghost Recon Wildlands is doing very well. Rainbow Six Siege is still doing very well. I mean, it's one of those moments, you know, hey, let's just see what we can get out of it. I mean, I think at this point though, 3 years in, I think anybody who's invested in Rainbow Six Siege already owns it. Anybody who's ever been interested in it already owns it, and they're buying the season passes if they want stuff. I mean, I don't expect these things to be selling like crazy anyways when they come out. So, I mean, I don't know if this is just try to bring in people late, or I mean, I don't even know if that's a good reason to do this, but it's very, very strange. I don't see the benefit of this.
Yeah, I just don't get it. And I just feel like, I mean, with like the excitement around like year 3 coming out now, like people are maybe going to be looking to purchase the game, and I've never heard of somebody like 3 years in raising the price of the game and then forcing you to buy like microtransaction with it. That's so weird. It's like when you get one of those like bundles at like GameStop or something, like they get an NES Classic in stock, but then in order to buy it, you got to buy it with like a Zelda lamp and like a Mario coaster.
Right.
And you're like, I just want the system. But no, you got to buy it in this bundle with all this other stuff that you don't necessarily want.
But hey, silver lining. I mean, maybe this is Ubisoft. Maybe they goofed up, but they did give you a date. So you have basically 2 weeks now to get in at a lower price. You know, so they put the price. They've given you the date, so you know you have to act now before you get gouged with the price raise here. But so if you want to get into Rainbow Six Siege, do it now, because February 13th, you're going to have to eat those microtransactions. One plus thing.
It's just strange, man.
Something we've all been hoping we'd hear from with Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six Siege will be getting support for PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X. According to a reply from the official Rainbow Six Siege Twitter updates, this is on its way. This will come in the form of an Xbox One enhanced update for Xbox and a PlayStation 4 Pro patch for PlayStation. No details were given on what sort of enhancements will be made, and there's no current release dates, but they did mention that this is on their development roadmap, but again, no ETA. 60 frames in a terrorist hunt for sure. Yeah. And maybe, just maybe, they'll get that, I think they got like a visual pack on PC. Maybe that's what they're going to kick out on the Pro and Xbox One X here. So
sounds logical.
Yes, I'm actually very excited. I'm glad they're going to do that because I do want to see some improved visuals for Rainbow Six Siege. It might have came out 3 years ago, but it looks like it came out 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was never a looker, that Rainbow Six Siege.
She most certainly wasn't, but it was all about the gameplay with that, and that's what they nailed it on. So
yeah,
but
it's funny too because Rainbow Six Siege obviously famously was the poster child for boost mode when that came out, because you would jump in the terrorist hunt and get 100
Yes.
frames or whatever people were getting on there. So it'll be interesting to see an actual like patch for the
a
Xbox
proper
One X and
like
the Pro.
60
Yeah.
FPS. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'll hopefully cap that because I remember I went in and I tried the boost mode on it, and yeah, you had a higher frame rate, but man, that thing was just screen tearing and everywhere. I mean, it was really really ugly. It did not look good, so it wasn't even worth doing it. So.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this week's show. We had a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff to cover, great conversations, and guys, it's been a blast as usual. So where can we find you gaming and tweeting? Bender.
You can find me on Twitter at Bender_guitar. You can find me on PlayStation Network and Nintendo Network at me_Bender, and on Xbox Live at meBender82.
Mr. Boyce.
As always, Brent, I'll be not tweeting at Piccolo930. It's my PSN ID as well. Xbox, Switch, too. It's where you can find me on there. The Tuesday night Indie Spotlight, 10 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. Short Pause Gaming on YouTube. So come on over there. Subscribe to the channel, like the videos, comments, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to have you guys over there. But we'll be firing up Wolverblade this week. So come on over and chat with us.
Absolutely. It'll be a good time. We'll be in there with Boyce. We'll be talking about the game that he's playing, and we'll be chit-chatting with the viewers in the chat room. You can find me on Twitter at TheDude1979, PlayStation Network, Nintendo Switch, TheDude79, and Xbox Live, TheRealDude79. Make sure you visit the website, www.shortpause.com. Follow us on Twitter at TheShortPause. As Boyce mentioned, follow us on YouTube. Subscribe. Give us some likes. All your likes, your subscriptions help us get more exposure. So check us out on YouTube. Also on Mixer and Twitch. All of those, Short Pause Gaming. You can listen to this podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, and Stitcher. If you like this podcast, if you really like it, go over to iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Write out a nice review. Those reviews go a long ways, again, at getting our show exposure, get us out to more listeners. We really do appreciate that. If you're not ready to give us a 5-star rating, that's totally cool. We don't want any fake ones. We want your feedback. So either come over to the website, go into the comments below on this podcast post, and sound off. If there are things you like to see us talk about, if there are things you don't want us to talk about, if you have any criticisms, any suggestions, we need to hear from you. If you don't want to write in the comments, you want to be more personal, send us an email, podcast@shortpause.com. We're always checking the email. We want to hear from you. It's the only way this show will get better, and it's the only way we'll make a show that you want to catch every single week. If you don't want to listen to it, you can watch this podcast right here on YouTube and also on our Twitch channel and on Facebook, Short Pause Gaming. For Mr. Boyce and Mr. Holt, I'm Brent Felsing. Thanks again for listening and watching the Short Pause Gaming podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Good night, everybody.